Portions of the following program were pre-recorded. 95.3 WDAE has your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bonus. That's BONUS. Enter it now. 953WDAE.com. Welcome to Monday Morning Quarterback, presented by Listerine on WDAE. Tampa Bay Sports Radio. We are 95.3 W237CW Pinellas Park, WRUB HD3 Clearwater, and the mighty AM 620 WDAE St. Petersburg, an iHeart radio station. It's Monday, from Dunedin to Seminole, and all around Tampa Bay, plus worldwide on iHeart Radio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full-court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Welcome aboard on a Monday. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. The Drive with TKras, presented by Moss Nissan, is on the air, live inside the Rude Air and Water Studios. Great to have you with us. Tom Krasnick with you. Executive producer Chris Mathis, riding shotgun. And, of course, you there. We are live in living color at 95.3 on the FM side, the mighty AM 620. And don't forget to download the iHeart Radio app, absolutely free. We've improved it. It's the new and improved iHeart Radio app. There's so many cool features that you need to be accustomed to. You can pick out your own favorite radio stations, and you can use presets. So when you go on there, kind of like your car radio, let's go WDAE. Let's make that a preset. Let's make The Drive commercial-free podcast. Your favorite podcast? Don't forget to favorite The Drive on there. So when you open it up, it's right there. Commercial-free podcast of this hideous show can be found through the new and improved iHeartRadio app. It is a beautiful thing. And good afternoon to all of you watching us on the stream. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and X at 953 WDAE and AM 620. Like and subscribe all day, every day. The phone numbers to get involved. So many ways to be interactive here. 888-546-4620. You can call us. You can text us. 82945 is the text number on the Bartow 4 DAE text platform. Just begin your text with DAE, followed by your comments in 140 characters or less, so they make their way here. And all guests will appear via the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network DAE hotline. We're on the air for 4 full hours, all the way up until 7 o'clock. We got a big show.
I'm excited.
I don't think I'm excited, Coach. Buccaneers season over with. So, what's the plan? What is the offseason looking like? We'll talk to Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus. He'll be with me at the bottom of the hour, 3:30. We also have the good, the bad, and the ugly. That will take place at 5:30, the 5 o'clock hour. Is right. A lot of good, a lot of bad, and a lot of downright ugliness taking place over the weekend in so many different areas. By the way, you just heard the nationwide keyword bonus to win $1,000. So we're going to give you another opportunity at 4 o'clock, another one at 5 o'clock. So you'll have 2 more opportunities. If you missed out on this one, you got to listen for that sounder at the top of the hour. Next one is at 4 o'clock, and then the next one after that is at 5 o'clock. Who the hell would turn down that kind of money after the holidays? You want to be able to pay down your bills, credit card bills, what have you. Listen in all afternoon long for your chance to win money, honey. So a lot happening here on the show. And I know a lot of you were upset. It was a late night for yours truly. You know, I thought about pulling a Derek DeBose and just sleeping here on the sofa in one of the conference rooms. It was a late night, Chris Mathis.
Yeah, I know. I saw and I had heard that you were on the air until, 2 a.m.? Is that right?
2 a.m.
Wow.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't. I feel a little groggy today. I got home about 1:30. I wasn't on air until 2 a.m., and I feel this way. So I can imagine, the salt to the wound as well, being the loss as well, knowing that the season is now over with. It just, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like my kind of day yet.
It was a long night. Very long. And there were lots of angry callers on the post-game show, a lot of angry tweets on Twitter. There's some useful buttons on Twitter that I've come very fond of.
The mute button?
The mute button is a beautiful thing. I didn't block anybody, but, I muted several people. I will say that. I mean, if you're one of these people who feels the need to continuously tweet at me, same stuff over and over again, and after I respond to you, if you keep tweeting like 15, 20 times, and that is not an exaggeration, you're getting muted. You're getting muted because you can only take so much. I mean, I have hundreds, if not thousands of people reaching out to me. And in the process, I'm trying to do prep work. I'm trying to do a show before the game. I'm trying to do a 3-hour show after the game. I was on the air for 5 hours yesterday, 4 more hours today, and I love it. This is what I signed up for. But there comes to a point where you got to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, that's it for you. I don't want to hear anymore. Because no matter how you try and reason with somebody, they will continue on their rant. They will continue to have the kind of agenda that they want to have for whatever reason. Look, fans are fans. Look, I get it. You're upset. We had a couple of callers who were quite emotional last night, including my man Dan from Eastlake. I understand it. You have a gut-wrenching loss like the one the Bucs had yesterday. It's going to happen. We're fans. We live with our teams. We die with our teams. They bring us the highest of highs, a euphoric feeling when they do so well, when they get far in the playoffs, when they win a Super Bowl. Look, you should be thankful that you're rooting for a team that has won 2 Super Bowls. There are some teams that have never even been to a Super Bowl. I haven't seen it in my lifetime with the team that I grew up cheering for, which I can't stand right now because of what they are and what they have become. But I certainly get it. And I told the story last night growing up. I mean, I have cried after a few games too when I was a kid. And as grown-ups, I mean, we tend to let out some emotion too. I mean, that's what makes sports so great. You're just so passionate about it. You love it. You eat, sleep, and breathe your team, and it's fantastic. When the going gets really well, there's no better feeling than to have your team do what they do, and they give you so much pleasure and entertainment. And then when it goes the other way, it's the exact opposite. You're sad. You're angry. You're agitated. You want to know how to make it better. And that's how some of you reacted last night and into this morning. A lot of you were under the influence. And look, that I don't want like drunk callers or, if you're high, if that's your thing, it's not my thing. But if that's your thing, then go do your thing. Just make sure you don't bother anybody else in doing it. But, a lot of you came firing out with the same kind of agenda that is not going to hold any water right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint a lot of you out there. Now, I will have a detailed breakdown as to what took place last night, where we are now, what's going to happen in the near future, all of it over the next 4 hours. So you better buckle up because there will be some turbulence, and it could be a bumpy ride all the way up until 7 o'clock. 888-546-4620. So we'll get your calls. We'll get your texts. Look, I won't shut anyone out. If I disagree with you, I'll disagree with you. But I'm here to give you a dose of reality as to where things stand now. And I don't have an agenda. I don't hate the Bucs. And I'm not a Bucs apologist. I'm right there in the middle. And the Bucs know that. I was there today. I slept maybe 4 hours just like a lot of you. Got up this morning. I went right over to the Advent Health Training Center. Todd Bowles had his end-of-season presser. And then I went into the locker room with the rest of the media, and we talked to a couple of players. And you'll hear those conversations coming up in a matter of moments. But I'm just going to tell it like it is. I mean, it's going to be unfiltered. Some of you may like it. Some of you may not like it. That's just how it goes. But I know everyone is bitterly disappointed. The aftermath of a tough Buccaneer loss that ended their season and what is yet to come. That is the theme of our opening drive here on a Monday.
Start the engine. Gas to the floor. Here's the opening drive.
Opening drive brought to you by my good friends and the award-winning Chattanooga Whiskey 91, which is splendid, by the way. Available at your favorite Tampa retail store. Drink Chattanooga whiskey, and as always, enjoy responsibly. And if you want to do that in the comfort of your own home, do that. Just don't get out on the roadways. I don't know. And I was talking about this right after I left, right before I left last night or this morning, actually, like 1:55. I was watching the news. The news was on the TV in front of me. And these wrong-way drivers always seem to mystify me. I mean, how in the world, what are you doing to yourself to the point where you're getting behind the wheel of a car and you find yourself going the wrong way on 275 or the Suncoast or whatever, I-75. I saw the 275 wrong-way driver. Can you imagine you're driving and all of a sudden this jackass is coming towards you and they had the dash cam footage? And that's the one thing I'm always fearful of when I'm driving home late at night. Like last night, I got in my car after I left, after I told you guys my biggest fear, and I'm in my car driving home. I'm going over the Howard Franklin. I'm like, it's my biggest fear. Thankfully, I got home just fine. But just be careful out there. I know life comes at you in a lot of different directions, but don't take it to the extreme. Don't do anything to harm yourself. And more importantly, your actions could harm others. But last night, I wasn't happy. I know you guys were not happy. The Bucs were not happy. I can tell you that, being over there today and speaking to a lot of different people. And the last night, the loss of the Commanders was hard to swallow. And the reason why, for me in particular, is I really felt confident that this team could have made a deep playoff run. I'm not saying they would have ended up in New Orleans, but I told you guys about the dream that I had like last week of a Bucs-Lions NFC Championship game. I thought that was realistic. The way the Bucs were playing, the style of play, being able to be physical and running the football and stopping the run and having, a big play quarterback. And they were getting healthy. You got Antoine Winfield Jr. and Jamel Dean back last night. Unfortunately, those two guys didn't do much. And Jamel Dean got hurt again, and I'll get into that in a matter of moments because this is a subject that I tackled last night on the Overtime Show with conviction, by the way. And to lose that game was absolutely gut-wrenching. And everyone wants to come out and blame Todd Bowles, and there are some things that he absolutely could be better at. And I think he understands that and knows that, and it's up to his superiors to, convey that message to him as well. Clock management and everything else. Look, defensively, I think there's some things that they could be better at. I think their personnel is inadequate. If you want to be a championship caliber team, the Bucs defense has some nice players. I think Vita Vea is a dominant player. I think Elijah Cansey saved for the play on Jaden Daniels, and that was one of the biggest plays of the game, where he couldn't get Daniels down to the ground late in the game. But Cansey and Vita Vea are good, really good, ascending. I think Yaya Diaby's ascending player. Levante David at the age of 34, and I had a chance to talk to Levante today. I'll share that with you. You're going to hear some of his comments coming up in a matter of moments. But this team on the back end needs help. They need help. in the secondary because they're not good enough back there. Antoine Winfield Jr. was a major disappointment in 2024. There's no question about that. Head coach Todd Bowles was asked about Antoine Winfield Jr. today not being as disruptive this year as he has been. Here's the head coach on that.
Injuries was his issue. He missed 4 weeks to start out, and he came back. He wasn't completely healthy, then he got hurt again. So a healthy Winfield leads to a healthy place.
And he was not healthy. Had the foot injury, suffered on opening day against the Commanders, oddly enough. Came back, and then he had the knee injury. It was an absolutely wasted year for Antoine Winfield Jr., who signed a 4-year, $84 million deal before the season. That's one of your best players, and he really didn't give you much of anything. It was a wasted year for Antoine Winfield Jr., and it's a shame because I think he's a great kid. I think he's a heck of a player. But it wasn't happening for him this year. Last year, one of the great years you ever saw out of a safety. This year, like Costanza, the complete opposite is what he gave you.
Right after he got paid, too, Tom, and he said that wasn't going to change his mindset or mentality heading into the year.
Well, the foot injury certainly set him back, and then he had the knee injury right after that. But, there was a period where he was healthy. He had the scoop and the score in New Orleans. That's the only really big play he made the entire season. That's not good enough. The Buccaneers are expecting more out of Winfield, and they need to get more moving forward. He, to me, was their most disappointing player on the back end. And with him not being there and him not playing up to his capability, the secondary was bad. And Jamel Dean got hurt again last night. He did not have a great year. And cornerback has to be, if not at the top, right at the top for their offseason list of priorities for the Buccaneers. And I don't want to draft a guy, and I talked about this on Overtime last night. I don't want to draft a kid. You got to teach him the ropes. No. Go out and sign a veteran. That's my plea to the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles and Jason Light. Go get a veteran. Go find me DJ Reed or somebody else in free agency. Get a guy who understands what it takes, who can come in here, fit the scheme, can cover, can tackle, can play man, can play zone. Go get me a veteran guy. The Bucs have to add to that room in the offseason. That is a priority, in my opinion. Cornerback. You got to do it. Todd Bowles was asked what he said to his team and his message to his team. Here's the head coach on that, and he talks about some maybe changes, maybe. There's going to be some turnover.
Obviously proud of the work they've done this year. Wasn't good enough. The only team that's going to be happy is the team to win the Super Bowl. To start the little things right starts with the offseason. Once they come back from break, we got to build it up from ground zero once again. A lot of guys in that room, free agents. Be lying if we say we're going to keep everybody or everybody's going to stay for whatever reason. It's going to be turnover. So
there is going to be turnover, and I'm looking at the list of free agents that the Bucs have. Right at the top is Chris Godwin. And we'll talk about that coming up in a little bit as Bowles was asked about Godwin's status. But I think the Buccaneers should bring him back, and I think they will bring him back coming back from the injury. And just think about how much better this offense can be. Shaq Barrett is a free agent. Bryce Hall, remember, he got hurt early at corner. Maybe they could have used somebody like that, but so many injuries in that secondary was just awful. Ben Bredesen was on a one-year deal. He's a free agent. Anthony Nelson's a free agent. And, of course, the main man, Levante David, is a free agent as well. And Levante held court in the locker room. The media had a chance to catch up to him. I was there in the locker room, and Levante was asked about the high aspirations that this team had, and they failed to reach him.
Tyler was cool and everything, but ultimate goal is win the Super Bowl. We fell short of that. We definitely feel like we got the pieces in place to do that, but this year, we fell short.
Fell short. They had the pieces. It just didn't happen. And he was asked about what his decision is going to entail. He said he's going to take some time away. He's going to try and figure out what he wants to do, but he needs to kind of clear his mind a little bit, get his body right. He tweaked his ankle and his knee last night when he got rolled up on late in the game. But he talked about the team's trajectory, and they seem to be on an upward trajectory, and how that is going to influence his decision. Here's Levante from today.
I think with me over that, we got a lot of great young players. That's what Coach Bo said. We got a great young players, including guys who want to win, guys who have that mentality to take their team, take us to the next level. And you've seen it. You've seen a lot of young guys truly this year. So they know, they understand now. Getting this feeling, getting this taste, I'm sure it's a bad taste.
Yeah, it is a bad taste right now, and you need to get that taste out of your mouth. And after the media kind of was done talking to Levante, I went in. I talked to him for about a minute, just him and I. And then look, everyone knows how I feel about him. I think he's a wonderful player. I think he's a Hall of Fame player, and he's a great person. So I asked him how he was feeling. He said, I'm fine, obviously not thrilled about packing up his locker. He had a big garbage bag, and he's putting stuff in his garbage bag as he's talking to me. And I'm like, so what's going to factor into your decision? Does your mind and body have to be in sync? And he looked at me, he said, exactly. My mind and my body have to be on the same wavelength. And I'm not going to know that right now. He said, I'm going to take some time, I'm going to get away, and I'm going to know. And I told him, I go, that's the right move. I go, you'll know when you know. And he goes, exactly. He goes, I'll know when I know. I just don't know right now. So he's going to take some time. He'll get away from some things. Look, if I had to guess, and this is a guess on my part, because the team is a couple of players away, and I talked about this last night. The Bucs are only a couple of players away from being a major threat in the NFC. They are. And I think Levante sees that. He understands that. And I think because of that, if I had to guess right now, I think he'll be back for year number 14. And the Buccaneers, of course, would have him back because he's a great player and he's a leader. He can still play. There was that one play, and I couldn't believe it. Jaden Daniels, who's about as fast as anybody and lethal, by the way. He's special. And that's the other thing that Buccaneer fans overlook. Everyone wants to blame the head coach for the loss, and the Buccaneers made their fair share of mistakes, offensively as well as defensively. But on the other side, you got to tip your cap to what I think is a special talent on his way to being a great player. That's Jaden Daniels. He's great. And the Buccaneers are going to have to contend with that guy for the foreseeable future. But I just think that this team is not far away. And I think that will factor into Levante's decision as to whether or not he will be back or not. We'll talk about it with you. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. We've got the good, the bad, and the ugly a little bit later on, all the way up until 7 o'clock. On the way back, how disappointing was the Buccaneers' loss of the Commanders last night? And what type of changes need to be made in order for the Buccaneers to get to the next level? We'll talk to Trevor Sikkema, all things Bucs and NFL with him from Pro Football Focus. He will join me coming up next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
It is The Drive, and it's presented by our guys over at Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. TKras here. Chris Matt is here as well. He's experienced the Moss effect, as have I. And if you're shopping for a new car in 2025, guys, you got the holiday hangovers, maybe credit card debt have you down. No problem. We've got the cure, Chris.
That we do, Tampa. No money down, plus no payments due until the spring.
That's a beautiful way to start 2025. Plus, with every vehicle purchase, you will get Moss Care. Unlimited tire changes, tire rotations, and oil changes for as long as you own the vehicle.
I know you guys are probably driving right now thinking, wow, you're telling me we get all of this. Yeah, you get all of that and so much more while also selecting from the largest Nissan inventory right here in Tampa Bay.
I bought my last two vehicles over at Moss Nissan because I love their sales department. Their service department is also extraordinary, and you need to experience the Moss effect as well. So check them out. 3 convenient locations. They're in Tampa, Newport Richey, as well as Brooksville. And you can check out their inventory online at mossnissan.com. That's mossnissan.com. Moss Nissan, whatever it takes. And I know a lot of you out there, like yours truly, you love bourbon, and my friends over at Chattanooga Whiskey want to introduce you to the award-winning Chattanooga Whiskey 91. If you're looking for a new bourbon in the new year, I highly recommend Chattanooga Whiskey and their 91. It's a Tennessee high malt. The malt-forward approach to bourbon, selected among the first 100 barrels from their experimental distillery. The original Barrel 91 recipe is comprised of at least 25% specialty malted grains. It's crafted for a beautiful finish. It is absolutely fantastic. You can also mix it 91 proof. It makes for a great old-fashioned as well. I've done that for my guests, too. So check it out. Chattanooga Whiskey 91 is where it's at, available at your local Tampa retailer. Drink
courtesy of Moss Nissan on WDAE.
Right now, all areas, as I dive into it, we haven't dived into the off season yet, but I can name a myriad of things, and it'd be too long a list to go into right now, but whatever it takes to get us to the next step.
Todd Bowles speaking today over at the Advent Health Training Center into what kind of moves the Buccaneers could be contemplating this offseason. Their season came to a crash and burn last night at home against Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, who move on. They'll be at Detroit this weekend in the NFC Divisional Playoff round. As for the Buccaneers, what's next? A lot of fans want Todd Bowles fired, and I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. Here's what I will say before I bring on our next guest, who has all the answers, I'm sure. Now that bar's going to be raised, the shopping list this offseason for the Buccaneers is not a big one. They need a couple of players, mainly on the defensive side of the ball. The offense is a top 5 offense. You've got a top 10 quarterback in Baker. I think Liam Cohen stays. I don't think he's going anywhere. But with Jason Light, and I have complete trust in him going out and making the moves that he needs to make, that bar is going to be raised next year. And if the Buccaneers don't make a deep playoff run next year, then yes, Todd Bowles will be in trouble next year. Let's go to Central Florida Behavioral Health Network DA hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. He's standing by. He's Tampa Bay's own Tampa Bay Trey. That's how you can follow him on X. Trevor Sikkema from Pro Football Focus is back with us here on The Drive. Trev, what's going on, buddy?
TKras, I'm doing good, my friend. Appreciate you having me on the show, as always, even if you guys are having me on after a Bucs playoff loss, which feels cruel, but I know we got to talk about it here, so I appreciate you having me.
Well, we are, and I told Chris Mathis, I go, I want Trevor on win or loss, just so we can clear that up. You know, we're just not having you on as the hatchet man, but, you know, unfortunately the season is over. And I saw some of your tweets last night, and, you know, I've heard it from fans. You've heard it from fans about Todd Bowles. And, look,
right,
he's never going to be Andy Reid. I think we know and understand that. But, you know, in 3 years, 3 division titles, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, you know, he's not going to get removed this year. But the bar is going to be raised next year, Trevor. So give me your sense and your opinion as to where you think the Bucs are at now and where they should be at next year.
Yeah, I can honestly understand where a lot of the conversation is coming from on all angles, honestly. I think that you set it up correctly. They're not going to move on from Todd Bowles, even if that means losing Liam Cohen. Now, I don't think it's a guarantee that they're going to lose Liam Cohen. It sort of depends on what other NFL teams that have head coaching openings, you know, think of him and how highly they regard him as a one-year offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay and the success that he has had there. So, yeah, I mean, could some team want to get him as a head coach? I think that's obviously a possibility there. And the idea of the Bucs now having to go 3 straight years to replace an offensive coordinator, I think that that's a tall task. But look, the fact of the matter is, Todd Bowles absolutely has deficiencies. You know, certainly as a head coach, the play, the time management and the timeout management was once again just a head scratching thing for him. And it feels as though, you know, when it comes to some of those 4th down decisions, he's not as progressive as maybe you would want him to be for the modern game of football. But the fact of the matter is this: they've won the division 4 years in a row now. They have made the playoffs 5 straight seasons. TKras, you've been covering this team a long time. I grew up rooting for this team. They'd never won back-to-back divisions, not once before they have done it here in this streak. And so for the Buccaneers, who for a long time in their franchise history were called the Yucks, right? At one point they had the lowest win percentage of any team in the 4 major sports in North America. Like, they're not going to be very quick to move on from a guy who has helped sort of take the torch to get to this point. And I'm just saying that from more of an unbiased opinion of people want Todd Bowles gone. I agree with you. It's not going to happen. And I honestly, losing Liam Cohen would suck, but at this point, the continuity sort of is what it is. And you need that. You need that going into next season. I agree with you that if a deeper playoff run and if higher expectations aren't met next year, then you can actually have the conversation. I think what Bucs fans are worried about is they're worried that they might lose Liam Cohen and then the Bucs don't hit expectations next year. And if they were to move on from Bowles next year, then they'll be throwing their hands in the air and be like, why didn't we do this a year before? We could have kept Liam Cohen. And so I understand where everybody is coming from in this regard. But I think you are completely right. They're not moving on from him. This consistency of winning has never existed for the Buccaneers, and they're just not going to easily move on from that, even in the situations that they have right now.
And you know as well as anybody that you don't turn into one of the youngest teams in the NFL. They were one of the oldest teams, Brady's last year, and you don't see this happen in the league where you go from a rebuild and you still continue that, that success in terms of getting to the playoffs and winning the division. I know it's a bad division, but there's something to be said about the job that Todd Bowles and Jason Light have done when a couple of years ago they had one of the oldest teams in the league, upside down on the salary cap, to being one of the youngest teams. You draft well, you had to jettison some veterans, and you still end up going to the playoffs year after year. Something needs to be said for that, right?
No, absolutely. And I think that the frustrating part about Bowles is you worry about where the ceiling is, right? I think that's what fans are frustrated with is they're like, well, you're never going to win a Super Bowl with him as a head coach because of, again, some of, his hesitancy to be a little bit more aggressive and, fourth down decisions and certainly the timeout management that I referenced earlier. But at the end of the day, he's a damn good football coach. He's a brilliant defensive mind. He is. He has been throughout his entire time in the NFL, whether he's been a defensive coordinator or a head coach. And he raises the floor of this team so high because of his football IQ and his football acumen. And again, is it frustrating because you think that we might have hit the ceiling with Bowles and where he is with the Buccaneers? Yeah, I can understand that that's where fans' frustrations are. But again, this is not a franchise. Look at teams that have tried to do this at other times, right? Belichick to Gerard Mayo. Vrabel getting fired with the Tennessee Titans. The grass ain't always greener. And I know that you feel like you've got an opportunity now with some veterans who are on the roster and the younger guys getting better and obviously having Baker Mayfield in hand. Nobody wants to waste time. But it's just not going to happen. They're not going to move on from a coach who has raised the floor of this organization so high without knowing for sure that there's somebody else out there who can maintain the standard that they have had while also giving you a bigger ceiling. And I just do not think that this year is the year they're going to make that move to try to find out.
Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus, is with me here on The Drive. All right, finish this sentence. The Buccaneers' biggest offseason priority is what?
Pass rush, edge rusher, something. You watched last night, and a big issue that the Buccaneers had, of course, the injuries that they've gone through in the secondary and Jamel Dean going out and Josh Hayes coming to come in. I know people are, killing Hayes for his performance last night and some of the things he's given up. He's a special teams guy, man. And you're putting him out there in the playoffs to guard Terry McLaurin. Of course it was not going to work out well for you. What I actually think is the biggest issue that the Buccaneers have right now is their pass rush. There is nobody outside of Kalijah Kancey that can really consistently win one-on-one on that defensive line. Now, I like Yaya Diaby. I'd like him a lot more if he was my edge two, my second best edge rusher when it came to rushing the passer, than to try to rely on him as an edge one type of a player. So whether it's in the pro market, which is feels like it's more unlikely, right? Great pass rushers don't exactly become available very often, although, hey, there's a damn good one in Cleveland who, depending on what happens with their quarterback situation, might out in Myles Garrett. I don't know if Tampa would be willing to pay that price, but I think that's something that you think about. But in the draft, going towards the draft, which is Jason Light's bread and butter, I think in that first round, your number one priority is edge rusher, because right now they just do not have a guy who can win on one-on-one, and that showed up last night with their inability to get pressure. And it forced Todd Bowles to be, I think, a little bit more aggressive in certain situations than he maybe wanted to on the early downs, because he knew that he didn't have that player that could get home. And there were so many third down situations and fourth down situations where Jaden Daniels is sitting back there way too long, because he knows that it's too easy for him to navigate the field and maybe rotate left or right because there's just not a pass rusher that really scares them there. So to me, the number one priority for this team is you have to get much better in the pass rushing category. And I think last night shined a light on that.
What about corner? Because Jamel Dean was hurt again. I think that this is a guy you can't rely on, Trevor, moving forward. Zion McCollum is a good young guy on the other side, but I think this team has a screaming need for a corner, probably more of a veteran corner, a guy who understands how to cover, who understands how to play zone and man-to-man, so someone you don't want to have to break in. But I think corner is a very high priority. What say you?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And it sort of goes back to the way that this team was constructed earlier and sort of what has happened since Carlton Davis has left. When this team was sort of constructed in a certain way when they made their Super Bowl run, Carlton Davis was that CB1, Jamel Dean was able to be that CB2, and then you could have, a couple of different players in the slot, and they really had a great safety rotation back when they were winning their Super Bowl to be one of those slot defenders and safety type of players on the back end and in the strong safety spot. So when you move on from Carlton Davis, and I'm not necessarily saying that that was the wrong move, but when you move on from Carlton Davis, now you're bumping everybody up a spot. Now you're saying, okay, well, Jamel Dean can't be the CB2. Now he has to be the CB1. Now Zion McCollum can't be the rotational CB3. Now he's got to be a in there all the time, starting all the time type of a CB2. And I just think that it was a little too much for Dean. I like Dean, but I feel like he's a CB2 at best at the NFL level, and asking him to have CB1 responsibilities, especially given how much he has been in and out of the lineup, is asking for trouble. Now, I think that there's conversations that might be had with the Packers, with Jair Alexander. I know his contract is big, but it feels like, I know that you're sort of having the same conversation with him missing time. Do you want to trade for a guy who's been beat up and has gone through injuries himself? Probably not. But if you're looking in the pro market for a major upgrade, I think that that's somebody who might become available and might make sense for them. But ultimately, again, you look towards the NFL draft. I'd like Zion McCollum to remain as a CB2 type of a player to continue to get better because I thought he looked way better than I thought that he was going to look this year. So I'm excited about his progress. But you've got to be able to find a CB1, in my opinion. And Jamel Dean, I just don't think he's a CB1 type, and he's missed too much time to really rely on him moving forward. So I agree with you completely. Corner is another need that they have to look at pretty heavily this offseason.
All right, a couple of more things for Trevor Sikkema. Mike McCarthy not returning to Dallas. We now have 6 openings once again. Where do you think he ends up, and what do you think the Cowboys are going to do?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. I mean, I wasn't so sure that Mike McCarthy was going to get out of Dallas. It just felt like him and Jerry's connection was pretty strong. I don't know what I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think that Jerry just lets him go without some sort of plan. So they're scheming something. I just don't really know what it's going to be in Dallas. For as much as I think people joke about Mike McCarthy and who he is, the head coach, and I think he's the butt of a lot of jokes. Like, I think the guy does know quarterbacks. I think he is a pretty good coach, and he gives you a pretty high floor. Again, as a coach, I do look at Chicago. If Ben Johnson's not interested in the Chicago job or doesn't want the Chicago job, and Chicago's kind of striking out a little bit, I know felt like they were interested in Pete Carroll, so I wonder if this is sort of the same vibe, but perhaps a Mike McCarthy to get to work with Caleb Williams and exactly what it takes to be a pro and all that experience that he has had with Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers going back to Green Bay. I wonder if sort of setting a higher floor for the Chicago Bears could actually be something that might make sense for them. So I wonder if Chicago is a destination, but I also heard, some rumors about New Orleans being a potential spot. So, maybe Tampa fans will get to know Mike McCarthy a little bit better if he ends up getting that job.
Of the teams remaining, who do you like the most? Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that Kansas City makes it all the way to the Super Bowl? I like Baltimore. I think from what I've seen out of Lamar Jackson down the stretch, I think the Ravens come out of the AFC, but what say you?
Yeah, it's the famous last words, but I agree with you. I at this point, I would take the Ravens. They're just playing too well. Lamar is playing too well. And here's the thing, TKras. They lose last year in Baltimore against the Kansas City Chiefs in a way that kind of stung, right? It felt like they played one of their worst games, and they felt bad about it. Now they open the season in 2024 against the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and they're, an Isaiah likely toe away from potentially winning that game, and it just feels like the Ravens have been right there with the Chiefs the ball just hasn't bounced their way. I think the ball bounces their way, and if they can get past Buffalo, I think they're going to get past Kansas City as well. In terms of the NFC, man, I think the Eagles are absolutely rolling, but it's so hard to bet against Detroit now that they've got the 1 seed, a little bit of rest, and home field advantage. So if I was picking right now a Super Bowl matchup, I'd say that it's Ravens and Lions, and what a shootout that would be. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I agree with you. All right, he's our own Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus at Tampa Bay Trey on X. Does a great job for them. Trev, I always appreciate our conversations. We'll talk to you soon, my man. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime. You
got it. That's Trevor Sikkema. Awesome job there. Ravens and Lions, I mean, we talked about that last week going into the playoffs. That was my Super Bowl prediction. Ravens look good. I mean, they didn't even have Zay Flowers on Saturday night, and they beat up on Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. A lot of conjecture by Mike Tomlin now, and I know the Commanders and their fans are happy, but you know what? You better temper your enthusiasm because I think you're getting hammered next week by the Lions. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. We'll get into your texts and calls on the way back. A lot of people lined up. I see that. There is big head coaching news in the NFL. Who's coming? Who's going? And is Liam Cohen staying? That is next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
It is The Drive here on your Monday ride home. Just be careful out there. An injury accident can happen to anyone at any time, and it happened to me. And when it happened to me, I called on my guys over at Catania and Catania. That's the ticket, the personal injury law firm that's located right here in Tampa Bay. They've been doing this more than 3 decades. They don't get paid unless you get paid, but they've been getting a lot of money for their clients over the years. Almost $1 billion with a B has been recovered by my guys for injury victims just like you. So protect your rights and protecting mine. Catania and Catania is where it's at. So give them a call. Get a free evaluation of your case at 813-222-8545. That's 813-222-8545. Or hit them up online at CataniaandCatania.com. They put families first. Office Tampa, 930 spokesman.
WDAE Traffic Update. This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
A wreck in Brandon being cleared on eastbound 60 near Lakewood Drive. Also, we're seeing delays on Gorto Lake just north of Bloomingdale due to a crash in that area, and one on US 92 near Branch Forbes Road. No major problems to report on 275 throughout the area. Construction in St. Pete, southbound 66th Street near 5th Avenue North, the right lane block there. Get traffic info around the clock by searching News Radio WFLA on iHeartRadio. I'm Randy Myers.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
Hey guys, it's TKras here. I want to tell you about my new obsession, Daisy French Onion Dip. Man, do I love it. I had some people over last week to watch the game. I had this dip out there with chips, wings, and veggies. They loved it. I love it too. And now Daisy's come out with the Daisy French Onion Dip and the Daisy Ranch Dip. These are game changers, guys. They're as good as any homemade dip. They have real herbs and spices. So check it out. Look for Daisy French Onion Dip at a grocery store near you. Take it from me. It's great.
Craving a dose of excitement? Head over to Pin Chasers, the heartbeat of family fun in Tampa. Our lanes are buzzing with laughter, strikes, and mouth-watering food. Whether you're looking for a family outing or a thrilling night with friends, Pin Chasers is the place to be. Plan your next gathering at pinchasers.net and experience the Pin Chasers difference. We guarantee a great time, or it's on us.
At Rivard Buick GMC, it doesn't matter where you live, because from the comfort of your home, you can enjoy the massive new GMC discounts with upfront pricing that Rivard is known for, saving you thousands. Check out over 650 new vehicles in stock. Find one that you like, and we'll deliver it to you, whether you're 1 mile or 1,000 miles from us. You'll receive great customer service with no hassle and no pressure. That's how we got to be the #2 GMC dealer in the country. RivardBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Achieve real goals at Epic Health and Fitness. Experience a real gym with top-notch equipment, expert trainers, and a supportive community. See real results with personalized programs tailored to your needs. Our gyms have the best equipment, recovery services, motivational staff, Open 24/7 and never overcrowded, no matter what time of year. Join us today and transform your life. Visit EpicHealthAndFitness.com. Epic Health and Fitness. Real goals, real gym, real results.
Start your year off stress-free and sell your home with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Hey, it's Aaron Jacobson here, and don't worry about the hassle of constant cleaning and making costly repairs. With the guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can receive an all-cash offer and move when you're ready. There are no showings, no open houses, and no stress. With over 12,500 five-star reviews, you can trust Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home stress-free and for the most money. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Tampa Bay Crew, Coke, Florida congratulates the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on a great 2024-2025 season. As the local Coca-Cola bottler celebrating 10 years of business, Coke, Florida is proud to be the Bucs official beverage partner. From the season kickoff to the final touchdown, Coke, Florida's 5,000 associates and passionate fans have cheered on the Bucs all season long. Raise the flags for Tampa Bay. Coke, Florida, and the Bucs tackle game day with great taste.
Your brain holds all the pathways to memories, to dreams, the very essence of your human spirit. At Advent Health Brain and Spine Institute, our experts protect those pathways. With state-of-the-art technology and groundbreaking treatments, we care for the most complex neurological conditions, so you can keep moving, keep dreaming, keep being your whole self. Advent Health. Feel whole. Visit thebrainandspineexperts.com.
Trajan Wealth, your trusted local fiduciary advisors. Visit TrajanWealth.com.
This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios.
A 30% chance of showers today, partly sunny with a high near 73. Tonight, showers likely, cloudy with a low of around 54 degrees. Get weather info around the clock by searching News Radio WFLA on iHeartRadio. I'm Pat Largo.
Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage and no subscription ever. A great alternative to a mobile phone for your kids. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com and you'll get 60% off, free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off.
As America's largest injury law firm, size is our strength. Morgan & Morgan.
Now, back to The Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
We've had a conversation. Me and Lynn were very close. We have these type of conversations, what to expect from an interview and everything else. At least you know you're picking the right guy, and we'll see what happens going forward from there. But, if they're not talking about you guys for interviews, then you're probably not doing it right.
Head coach Todd Bowles speaking today about his offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen. Will he return? He's got an interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars about their head coaching vacancy. Could there be more? Welcome back, 3:54 and your ride home. The Drive with yours truly, Chris Mathis on the other side. Monday Morning Quarterback on DAE, presented by Band-Aid for every ouch, oops, and uh-oh. We saw all three last night at the game, I can tell you that. There's a Band-Aid band product that's best for you. Be wound care prepared and make sure you're covered with Band-Aid. So there are now 6 openings again in the NFL. The Patriots hired Mike Vrabel. I think that's Liam Cohen's dream job. I think that's a job that he absolutely wanted. The Patriots obviously saw an opportunity with Mike Vrabel only after the Jets interviewed him, and that's why Bob Kraft moved quickly on him. So now we're back up to 6 because Mike McCarthy is out in Dallas, an expiring contract. And it'll be interesting to see what Jerry Jones and the Cowboys will do. There's a lot of speculation out there that they want a big name. Jerry Jones, he loves a big name. Bill Belichick is at North Carolina. The buyout is $10 million. Is that on the table? Look, $10 million is nothing to Jerry Jones, although he wouldn't pay Derrick Henry $5 million. And he went to the Ravens, and he and the Ravens are in the divisional round in Dallas's home, playing with their dolls. That's a Spaceballs reference, by the way. Remember Dark Helmet?
Yeah, oh yeah. He's
No,
playing
sir.
his dolls.
Did you see anything? No, sir. I didn't see you playing with your dolls again.
We did Mathis movie trivia on that a couple months ago.
We did. I think you failed miserably.
Did I?
Or I failed to ask you tough questions.
I don't know. Either way, it was a good movie.
It was a good movie. It's funny. Funny. So I'm interested in seeing what the Cowboys do. Could John Gruden be in the discussion for the Dallas Cowboys job. You got the Cowboys job. You got the Bears, Saints, Jets job. They're open. Is it possible that another opening could come up? But we've got 6 right now. Jacksonville job, obviously. They want to talk to Liam Cohen. And I think that's maybe a possibility at this point. I don't know what else Jacksonville is going to do. I know Ben Johnson is interviewed there. And it all depends on what they're looking for. If you want to work with Trent Baalke, which a lot of people don't want to do, that's also a factor. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's more likely than not that Liam Cohen returns in 2025. I don't think the Jacksonville job is a job that he would take. And, you know, the Saints haven't requested an interview with him. The Jets haven't. The Bears haven't as well. I don't know if the Cowboys will. So it appears to me as of now, and look, things are subject to change. It looks like it's Jacksonville or back here to be the OC. And I think if I'm Liam Cohen, I can't speak for him. I think it's more likely that he's back here than someplace else. I'd take a call before the top of the hour. A lot of Bucs talk here on this Monday. Louis up in Massachusetts. Lou?
What's going on, guys? I don't think Liam Cohen's going anywhere, first and foremost, just because the Patriots, I think, was his first choice of the dream job. Being from Warwick, Rhode Island, that's literally where the Patriots take off on their plane. Anyways, I wanted to say something real quickly. The season was fun to watch, but I do have a bone to pick with Buccaneer fans, and I do this on my podcast. Stop calling for Todd Bowles' job. He's not going anywhere, 1. 2, Todd Bowles didn't mess up the snap count. Todd Bowles didn't fumble the football. You know who did? 2 rookies. 2 rookie mistakes, inexperience. And that's it. These are the same fans that are calling for Todd Bowles' job. These are the same fans that sold their tickets to Commander fans. You see how loud those Commander fans were last night? That's a problem.
It was awful.
That's a big problem. Going into the offseason, you know, I expect them to go out and get a pass rusher. I've been beating on that drum for a very, very long time. They need a pass rusher and in a desperate way to complement Yaya Diaby in that front 3 with Vita Vea, Logan Hall, and Kalijah Kancey. Another guy, this is way too early for the draft, but a guy that I really like, that I like to see the Buccaneers go out and draft because inside linebacker is going to be another position that they need, is Jihad Campbell from Alabama. The kid's coming off a 5-sack season. He's a stud. I think putting him in the inside with Levante, if Levante decides to come back. And you have to look at corner and outside linebacker. And that's all I got.
Well, thank you, Louis. I think all the needs are on the defensive side. All of them. Pass rusher, corner, inside linebacker. I think those are the top 3 needs. Maybe in that order. If Levante comes back, I think inside linebacker are behind edge and corner. I think corner, look, you need pass rush help. I think just about every team is looking for pass rush help, except for a team like, I don't know, the Broncos. They led the league in sacks, but a lot of teams are looking for pass rush help. And Myles Garrett is an interesting name. Trevor Sikkema brought him up. I know a lot of people brought up Micah Parsons over the weekend. I don't think Jerry is that senile to the point where he would put that guy up. Because if Micah Parsons were to become available, the Buccaneers should be all over that. Absolutely. All right, 1 hour's in the books. 3 more hours to go. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly also coming up. And also on the way, the aftermath of the Buccaneer loss last night in the playoffs. What is Todd Bowles' status? What should Todd Bowles' status be moving forward? I'm going to give you the truth about all of that, plus your calls next here on The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
It is The Drive presented by our friends over at Moss Nissan, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. TKras here. Chris Mathis is here as well. And if you're shopping for a new or pre-owned vehicle here in 2025, credit card debt have you down, maybe the holiday hangovers, no worries because we've got the cure. Tell them about it.
That we do. Again, no money down at Moss Nissan, plus no payments due until the spring.
I bought my last 2 vehicles over at Moss Nissan. They are a game changer. You know what else is? Moss Care. With every purchase, you get Moss Care, which means lifetime oil changes, tire rotations for as long as you own your vehicle. It's a beautiful thing.
Incredible service there, too, as well. Tom and I both know a lot about that. You get all of this while selecting from the largest Nissan inventory in Tampa Bay.
You got that right. 3 convenient locations around the Tampa Bay area. They're in Tampa, Newport Richey, and Brooksville. You can also check out their inventory.
It's Monday from Plant City to Largo and all around Tampa Bay, plus worldwide on iHeartRadio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Winning the division title was cool and everything, but the ultimate goal is winning the Super Bowl. And we fell short of that, and we definitely feel like we got the pieces in place to do that, but this year, we fell short of it.
Levante David and the Buccaneers disappointed. They had high hopes and expectations. Unfortunately, one and done in the playoffs, losing at home last night to the Washington Commanders, who move on. They'll go to Detroit. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers, and I was there today at the Advent Health Training Center, cleaning out their lockers, and now the off-season of change and questions now began. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. Welcome back. It is 4:09 on your ride home. The Drive with yours truly, Tom Krasnicki, presented by Moss Nissan. Chris Mathis riding shotgun. Monday morning quarterback here on DAE, presented by Band-Aid. For every ouch, oops, and uh-oh, there's a Band-Aid band product that's best for you. Be wound care prepared to make sure you're covered with Band-Aid. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly. That will take place in the 5 o'clock hour at around 5:30. We're with you until 7 o'clock. No Buccaneer Total Access. That will come up tomorrow. That's the final show tomorrow with Todd Bowles tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock. Not at this time, no. And, Todd Bowles used that line a number of times today when he was asked about off-season priorities. Not at this time, which honestly is hogwash. Give me a break. Here's Todd Bowles. I want you to listen to this cut. And look, I'm fair. No matter what you guys say, I'm fair. I call things right down the middle the way I sees it. And Todd Bowles was asked about the moves, perhaps, this offseason, the top positional priority. What is that going to be, Coach? What is it? What does it look like?
A little early right now for that. Again, we haven't sat down and evaluated everything and gone over everything to see what we would have at the top. Just fresh off a game right there, playoff loss. It's going to be a couple weeks before we make that decision.
Wrong. That's wrong. I call BS on that. And here's why I'm calling BS on that. You mean to tell me throughout the entire year, when you're game planning and you're looking as to which areas of the team is starting to fail you, you're not thinking in the back of your mind, well, we got to get this fixed in the offseason or get that fixed in the offseason. Don't stand up there and tell me, look, and he's not going to lay out his entire offseason plan for everybody to consume. I get that. But you can't sit there and say, well, and I don't think he really means that, by the way. My point is he knows what they want to do. Remember, 2 years ago, after they lost to Dallas, it was the morning after. And Todd Bowles said this, too. He went to Tristan Wirfs and said, get ready, you're moving to left tackle next year. It was the day after they lost to Dallas in the playoffs. He told Tristan Wirfs, you're moving to left tackle. Because then they were going to cut Donovan Smith, and lo and behold, he made that successful transition, and now, voila, you have an all-pro left tackle. The best left tackle, by the way, in football. And this is how fans should look at this. I don't think Liam Cohen is going to go anywhere. That's just my hunch. I think Jacksonville right now is the only team that is requested an interview, and it's possible maybe the Cowboys will talk to him, although I doubt it. I think Jerry has his eyes on somebody else, which is why he let go of Mike McCarthy today. He had an expiring contract. I think Jerry wants a big name, and I don't think that big name is Liam Cohen. We haven't heard the Bears or anybody else to this point request an interview with Liam Cohen. So I think it's more likely than not that Liam Cohen returns. He returns. This O-line's going to return. And when you look at this O-line, well, Ben Bredesen, the left guard, is a free agent. He's one of the top free agents on this team. Chris Godwin, Levante David, Ben Bredesen. I think those are your top three. Anthony Nelson, too. probably your top 4 free agents who are going to hit the market. William Golston, Shaq Barrett, Sterling Shepard, Robert Hainsey, Mike Edwards. So there are a number of guys. They're going to turn over this roster a little bit. I don't think you're going to see sweeping changes, but I think many of those free agents that I just mentioned will not be back. Chris Godwin, that's a great question. Head coach Todd Bowles was asked about Chris Godwin, who obviously was injured in the Ravens game midway through the season. Jalen McMillan stepped forward as a viable number 2. But what about Chris Godwin's status for 2025, Coach?
Well, he's an outstanding player. If we can sign him back at all, I'd love to have him back here. Don't know the significance yet of how long he'll be out and how he'll recover, but we'd definitely like to have him back.
They know how long he's going to be out with the ankle thing. They know exactly. So I think Chris Godwin has a good chance to come back. I think Chris Godwin wants to come back. And I think the Bucs would love to have him back. Can you imagine? And Liam Cohen would love to run, 11 personnel, ideally, which is, 1 back, 1 tight end, 3 receivers, because that's how this offense cooks. And if you're able to put Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan out there, good luck trying to defend the Buccaneers. And Godwin is a great run blocker, too, so he'll make that run game go. Although Jalen McMillan showed a lot of chops in the run game as a blocker, too. I mean, that's one of the better, 3 receiver sets that you'll see in the National Football League. So I think there's a chance that Chris Godwin returns. You're not paying your quarterback $50 million. You're paying him $33 million on average. Baker Mayfield had an outstanding year. There were mistakes made last night, and that's the thing. It's like you got a 17-13 lead, and this is where fans need to understand, okay? 17-13, the Bucs were up going into that fourth quarter. Washington goes down the field early in the fourth. They had a 1st and goal from the Bucs 1, and they got 0. Nothing. What happened right after that? That turnover on downs? Baker and Jalen McMillan collide on a jet sweep. Ball is loose. Bobby Wagner recovers. And then a couple of plays later on a 4th and 2, Jaden Daniels hits Terry McLaurin for a 5-yard touchdown, puts Washington up 20-17. That was the biggest momentum change of the night without question. And the biggest mistake was made by the offense, not necessarily the defense, although there were some mistakes made there too. Missed tackles and whatnot. Later in the game, Todd Bowles with the timeout situation. Jaden Daniels on that big 3rd down. Look at that. And I'm looking at it right now. Kalijah Kancey had him dead to rights. You got to make that play. Kalijah Kancey's got to make that play. Wonderful player, an ascending player. These are young players. Jalen McMillan, young player. Graham Barton snapping it too early. Young player. Kancey, young player. And hopefully all these young players will learn from their mistakes. Now, I took calls and texts, for the last 2 months regarding Todd Bowles and his status. And here's the reality of Todd Bowles. He's not going anywhere now. He's not. 3 years, 3 division titles, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. He's not going anywhere. However, the bar went from here, now it's up here. I have full confidence in Jason Light that he will go out in the offseason and you'll make the necessary moves. He'll find another corner. I think he needs another corner. Edge rusher, obviously, we all know, is a very important priority. We'll find out where Levante David is in terms of him coming back, but I think that the fact that this team is stacked, I think probably leads me to believe that if Levante feels up to it, I think Levante, more likely than not, returns for a 14th season. But when they do make these upgrades in the offseason, and I think they will do them, then Todd Bowles will be on the spot in 2025. He's got to make a deep postseason run in 2025 or else. That is the reality with Todd. He's not in trouble now, but next year, when this team returns, most of its team intact, and they make a couple of defensive upgrades, then you know what? You need to see some results. You need to see a deep run. You need to get to a conference championship game. Or else the conversation is going to happen about bigger changes than the ones that we'll see this offseason. Let's go to our phones. John is in Land O'Lakes. Talk to me, Johnny. How are you?
Good, TKras. Disappointed like everyone else, but still overall happy for the season and specific players and their development. My concern, and maybe I differ from earlier, my concern is, yes, historically throughout the season we haven't had a good pass rush. But when it mattered most, when we had them back on their 35-yard line, 8 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go, 3rd and 7 or thereabouts, why do we sit back and only send 3 players and let Jaden Daniels have 5 seconds to survey the field, and more importantly, let them run routes that develop 20 yards down the field? What we're trying to do is keep them out of field goal range to win the game. Why do we not pressure Jaden Daniels and just risk it right away and say, listen, you're either going to throw the ball into the ground like you have earlier in the game when we pressured you, or you're going to get something over the top of us and win the game anyway. But instead, we threw 3 players at him on 2 different third down plays and gave him enough time to pick apart the defense and essentially win the game for us. And that's my concern as to the conservative play calling defensively that has haunted us this year against Kansas City, against San Francisco, and now against Washington. All losses late in the game or overtime. Turn it back to you. Thank you. Thank you very much, TKras, for a great season.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate it. I am here each and every weekday, by the way. Everyone, it's so funny. Like, there are people out there, hey, great job. We'll talk to you next year. What do you mean you'll talk to me next year? I'm here every day on the drive beginning at 3 o'clock. Some people just, I don't know, have it in their heads that I just do countdown to kickoff and overtime, by the way, wrapping up another wonderful season. I think that's 12 years in the books. I'll be back for year number 13. God willing, if they'll have me back. Well, some of you probably are hoping not. Dan is up in Boston listening through the iHeart app. Dan, the man, what's going on?
How are you? I agree with you 100%. Bulls is not going anywhere. And the reason being is his replacement, Liam, is going to slide right into his job. This is an offensive league. And like you said, it's not going to take long next year if he doesn't get far with this team that he's going to be jettisoned for sure. I mean, his time management, the lack of discipline on the team, the penalties, it's all a track record that's been going on for years. And our division's getting better. As much as I love Tampa, Atlanta is not a team that's going to be laying down. Even Carolina's a little better. They gave us a couple of games. But Liam Cohen, Jason's walking into your office now saying, hang tight. For sure.
And that conversation may happen, Dan, and I appreciate the phone call. And that's the other thing that I was about to allude to. And this goes hand in hand with the comment that Liam Cohen is probably going to stay. He's got the Jacksonville opening, but he's probably saying to himself, okay, if I stick it out here, we know the bar is going to be raised, and if Todd Bowles fails to meet that expectation, then I think a change after 2025 is absolutely possible. And then, of course, you can promote from within. You would have to comply to the Rooney Rule and interview a couple of people. But that would open the door, yes, for Liam Cohen to be the man in waiting for 2026 possibly. But I think if you're the Buccaneers, I think you want to stay status quo. Todd Bowles not going anywhere this year. You don't want Liam Cohen to take another job. You want him here, and I think there's a better than average chance that he does stay here. And then you take your chances in the offseason. You run it back in 2025. And if you don't meet those expectations, then I think it's an easier conversation and an easier transition to have at that point. Brian is up in Rochester, New York. Brian, what's going on?
Hey, TKras, I know you're there all year. I'm going to call you every day now going forward, every single day. I love your show. And, I've been a Bulls. I've been on Bulls case for for quite a while. I don't think he's a great head coach, but I definitely think he deserves to come back. But like you said, the bar is raised, and I also think there's an ultimatum that should be placed with Todd Bowles that he absolutely needs to go get himself a defensive coordinator. I just think he's one of those guys who, and some people do it better than others. He just doesn't multitask well. And I think it's hard for him to manage the whole team as well as his defense. And, for a guy who's had the reputation his whole career as being a, great defensive coach, which he has been, he certainly he certainly didn't keep that reputation this year, and even last year to a degree, with some of his play calling and decision making, especially from the defensive side of the ball. So I definitely think he needs to go get himself a defensive coordinator, and he needs to focus on the whole game, going forward.
I don't think that's going to happen, Brian, and I appreciate the phone call, and I appreciate you checking in through the iHeartRadio app, which is new and improved, by the way. Download it, presets. You can scan your favorite radio stations. You can do your favorite podcasts, like the Drive podcast, which is a beautiful thing. And look, I like Todd, and in order for the Buccaneers to put him in the best position to succeed, Todd Bowles needs to help himself in a major way this offseason. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you what he needs to do, and this is a priority, what Todd Bowles needs to do this offseason. That is coming up next here on The Drive, plus more of your calls and texts. Chanel.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Injury accident, product liability, medical malpractice. If you've been the victim of any of these circumstances, you need to protect your rights. And the way to do so is to contact my friends over at Catania & Catania, the personal injury law firm. They've been doing their thing the last 30 years. They work on a contingency, which means there's no cost to you unless they win. And plenty of winning has been happening on their end for their clients over the course of many, many years. Almost $1 billion with a B has been recovered by my guys for injury victims just like you. I got into an injury accident. You guys know they've had my back ever since. They're protecting my rights. They can protect your rights as well. So if you or someone you love has been the victim of an injury accident, product liability, medical malpractice, Social Security disability as well, these are the guys you need to call. 813-222-8545. That's 813-222-8545. Or get a free evaluation of your case online at CataniaandCatania.com, where they put families first. Office Tampa, not attorney spokesman.
WDAE.
Starting the season, I thought we were fast starting the season. We got banged up pretty early. And we made some routine plays look hard, and I didn't like that about it. That will probably eat at me the whole offseason.
Todd Bowles on his thoughts on the defense. And look, if that's going to eat at you, then you need to change something. Change personnel, tweak your scheme, give yourself a chance as we welcome you back in the aftermath of the Buccaneer playoff loss last night. It's 4:32 on your ride home on the Monday morning quarterback edition of the show. It's The Drive. We'll take you until 7 o'clock. The good, the bad, and the ugly coming up in the next hour. More of your calls at 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. Some interesting texts and some not so interesting texts are coming through from the same usual suspects. You know, the same usual gutless losers, nobodies like Steve out of the 813. Yeah, maybe Todd Bowles is not that concerned at what a radio host like me thinks, but I tell you what, I've got more influence than you will ever have. And you're the gutless weasel that decides to text in stupid observations like that over and over again. What does that say about you? At least I'm productive. At least I'm going places. You're going nowhere, but, you know, it is what it is. Gosh. Freaking idiot.
I don't want to be associated with that guy. He's a loser.
Loser. All day, every day. So if Todd Bowles, and you heard that clip, and I wanted to play that clip. He said that today when he was asked about the defense. Here's what Todd Bowles needs to do. And some of you are texting in, I think he needs to hire a defensive coordinator, blah, blah, blah. That's not happening. Todd Bowles has been asked that the last couple of years. He is not going to relinquish control of his baby. The defense is his baby. But, and I'll say but, here's what he should be doing. And I think management needs to push him into this. Todd Bowles has to have somebody on the sidelines. He's got to have a consultant, somebody there that can help him out with things like when to call a timeout, when not to call a timeout. And he does have people, that's why he's on his headset, who are telling him things like, maybe we should challenge this, maybe we shouldn't challenge this. But he's got to have a right-hand man, a consultant of some kind, who can help him with maybe his biggest weakness, which is game day management, clock management, when to use timeouts, when not to use timeouts. I think things become too overwhelming for him because there is a lot on his plate, because he is calling the defensive plays. He is a head coach. He's got to advise Liam Cohen, okay, here's a situation. If we get the 4th and 1, we're going for it. If not, we're going to kick the field goal or we're going to punt, what have you. There's a lot going on game day, and I think it is too overwhelming for him. And if that's the case, just tell Jason Light you need more help. That's what they're there for, to try and make your job easier. You can't be stubborn and go into 2025 thinking, I'm just going to leave things the way they are. Because if you don't make a deep run in next year's playoffs, provided that you make the playoffs, then there's going to be a conversation about your job security. And if you don't make the playoffs, absolutely, his job will be in serious jeopardy. But he needs to hire a consultant, somebody who can help him out with that aspect of the game day management. Because it continues to haunt him. Game in, game out. Year in, year out. Primetime, too. I mean, that's just kind of mystifying. The Bucs are 0-5 now in primetime this year. 4 night games during the regular season. And, of course, the night game last night. He was asked about that today. He's like, I just want to play 1 o'clock now. And he was joking about it. But I think with every joke, there's some seriousness to it. Don't you think? So he wants to play at 1 o'clock. Trust me, you keep playing the way you are, you're not going to get many primetime games next year. Although the Bucs will get primetime games because, listen, if Jason Light does what I think he will do, and I have complete confidence that he's going to go out there and make those moves, then the Buccaneers are going to be talked about as one of the top teams in the NFC. Up there with Detroit and Philadelphia and, I think Minnesota, look, Chicago, if they get the right coach, there's enough talent there where they can make a one-year turnaround. I mean, look at the Commandos. They were 4-13 last year. New owner, new GM, new head coach, rookie quarterback, boom, 12-5, a playoff win, and now they're into the divisional round. So these one-year turnarounds are absolutely possible in the salary cap era that is the NFL, where you have the draft, where you have free agency. The system is set up for you to make that turnaround. That's why I love the NFL, more so than Major League Baseball, which doesn't have a salary cap, which isn't conducive to teams, bad teams, turning it around and getting much, much better, because the good teams will always spend the money, and they'll always spend as much money as they want to, like the Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees. Those teams will always spend money, and the Rays won't. And for the most part, the A's won't, and the Pirates won't, and the Marlins won't, because not everybody is dealing from the same deck. That's why you got to love the NFL. Parity rules, baby. And if you have the right people in place, and look, Washington made the right calls. Josh Harris, he bought the team. Magic Johnson is a minority owner. They hired Adam Peters, who then hired Dan Quinn. And then he had the number 2 overall pick. You knew they were going to take a quarterback. All right, you're taking Caleb Williams, Chicago? No problem. We'll take Jaden Daniels, who's got a higher ceiling. And right now, Jaden Daniels looks miles ahead of Caleb Williams. And that's the other thing, fans are, how about looking at the guy on the other side? Jaden Daniels is special. He is the NFC's version of Lamar Jackson. Can beat you with his legs, can beat you with his arm. And I think the thing that is most impressive about him is, as a rookie quarterback, he plays with so much poise. Nothing seems to faze him. He's unflappable. He doesn't shrink in big-time moments. He takes care of the football. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. He has the opportunity to be great. Not good, but great. He's already pretty damn good as it is. But he has an opportunity to be legendary, like really good, scary good. That's how great Jaden Daniels is. And sometimes you got to tip your cap to the opposing team and their best player. And there were several instances this year where Jaden Daniels just took the game over and won it all by himself. He did that against the Eagles. He did it in overtime against the Falcons. And he did it here last night against the Bucs. Special player. Let's go back to the phones. Billy is in Land O'Lakes. Billy, good afternoon, sir.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Yeah,
it was a disappointing loss. I think we shot ourselves in the foot with that game last night. And the one thing I agree with you is we have to focus on the defense come next year. I think our offense is pretty solid. And I feel bad for the offense because of the defense this year putting us in situations where we have to make up extra points almost, it seems like, because the defense can't stop the other opponent from putting points on the board. And I think if we focus on that next year, I think we'll be a lot more solid all around. And I agree with you on Todd Bowles, maybe get a defensive coordinator so you can just focus on, the coaching side of it and the game management and clock management and all that. So that way he ain't got too much on his plate.
Well, Billy, and I don't think he's going to do that, and I appreciate the call. What I said was, if you want to be the head coach and call the defensive signals, there are some coaches who can do that and some coaches who can handle it better than others. But he absolutely needs help in game day management and clock management. And he needs to have a guy, a consultant. He needs to have somebody there to help him out with that aspect of it, because he is failing himself and he's failing the team in that area. He absolutely is. 888-546-4620. We had Trevor Sikkema on with us in the last hour. Really good football conversation with him. We'll revisit that a little bit later on in the program. We got the good, the bad, and the ugly, too. That is taking place. Really awesome playoff action from over the weekend in the NFL. And a lot of movement in terms of teams looking for a head coach, interviews. Another head coaching vacancy became open today. We're back up to 6. And what about Liam Cohen and his status? And I'm going to tell you about one team that won over the weekend that should be in trouble, will be in trouble next weekend. That is coming up next here on The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Boy, I can tell you, man, when I left here last night just after 2 a.m., I felt like going home and popping open some Chattanooga whiskey. I've got some 91. I've got some 111, too, in my house. So 111 is like the heavy-bodied, full-body type of bourbon. May I introduce you to the award-winning Chattanooga Whiskey 91? If you're looking for a new bourbon to try out in the new year, this is the ticket. It's the Chattanooga Whiskey 91, the Tennessee high malt variety. It's their signature Tennessee high malt recipe. Our malt-forward approach to bourbon, selected among the first 100 barrels from our experimental distillery. This original 91 recipe is comprised of at least 25% specialty malted grains. It's crafted to highlight the complexity of our ingredients throughout each step of the process. I can tell you, it goes down smooth. It is fantastic. You can also mix it with an old-fashioned. It's at 91 proof, so it is fantastic in that area. After aging more than 2 years, the Chattanooga Whiskey 91 utilizes our version of the Solera finishing process, bringing together nearly 100 barrels into a 4,000-gallon charred white oak Solera finishing battle, which rarely goes empty. So at the end of the day, you're talking about a rich-tasting bourbon. And if you're a bourbon lover like me, you've got to have this in your selection. So check it out at your local Tampa retailer. Ask for it at your local bars and retailers. Drink Chattanooga whiskey
To 8 weeks, visit reesewindows.com.
Live across Tampa Bay, The Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
I mean, we've had a conversation. Me and Liam were very close. We have these type of conversations, what to expect from an interview and everything else. At least you know you're picking the right guy, and we'll see what happens going forward from there. But, you know, if they're not talking about you guys for interviews, then you're probably not doing it right.
Todd Bowles was asked today about his offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen. He's got an interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars for their head coaching vacancy. What about the other vacancies? We're now back to 6 head coaching vacancies around the league. Some wild card action over the weekend. Now the divisional round taking place next weekend. There's actually one more game to wrap up wild card weekend tonight. Vikings and the Rams, they're playing that game in Glendale, Arizona, because of the wildfires, unfortunately, in Southern California, which is just horrifying to watch. So the game was moved to Arizona, and the winner of that game goes to Philadelphia next weekend. Now, I watched the Eagles pretty closely yesterday. They were on before the Bucs. I did not like what I saw. I saw a guy who came back from concussion protocol, and Jalen Hurts, and he was not sharp. Defensively, you saw Josh Jacobs. I mean, there were some holes that he ran through at times. And Jordan Love just made too many mistakes. And I'll tell you this, man, the Packers just ran out of bodies. They lost a couple of offensive linemen. They lost a couple of receivers. I mean, there were guys going down left and right. I mean, had they been healthy, had they stayed upright, I think the Packers would have won that game. McManus missed a field goal, but I didn't like what I saw offensively out of the Eagles. And then you had A.J. Brown on the sidelines reading a book. On the sidelines of a playoff game, and you're reading a book? Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, man. That's unprofessional. I think it's a disgrace, to be quite honest with you. There's a time and place for everything. You know what? If you're on a bus ride going back to the hotel or something, then you take your book out, you start reading. Or right before you go to bed, you do not pull a book out and you start reading a book while you're at work. Especially if you're an NFL receiver. That just shows you where his priorities are at. Oh, my goodness. I couldn't believe that. I'm like, what? I go, that doesn't look like a tablet. He's not looking at the plays or the pictures of the defense. The dude has got a book, and he's reading a book.
And this is a guy who's also been in headlines and been talked about for his demeanor, his character, and sometimes the interest, so-called interest or lack thereof, that he shows.
I'm telling you.
He's a bum.
He is a bum. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. The dude's reading a book. The Eagles have all the talent in the world, but I just don't know about Nick Sirianni. I don't think he's got complete control over what's going on there. And I think the Vikings or the Rams, they could beat Philadelphia. Philadelphia is more talented. They lost to Kobe Dean for the season. He got injured last night. But I think the Eagles are a team that could have been had. And if you're a Bucs fan, that makes last night's loss even all that more frustrating. Because had you won that game, you would be going to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. A team that is vulnerable, in my opinion. And the way the Bucs stopped the run with Saquon Barkley, that's a winnable game. But unfortunately, here we are. Buccaneers season is over, and now, what is next? By the way, if you had to watch one game next weekend, I know it's a little early for Would You Rather, Chris Mathis. Maybe you could save this for Wednesday.
All right, yeah, I definitely will.
If you only could watch one game in the divisional playoff round next weekend, which one would it be? For me, it's not even close. It's the Bills and the Ravens. Not close. Sunday, 6:30. Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. the two front runners for MVP. That's a game where, and unfortunately, I got to go to my mom's for dinner Sunday night, so. But I want to see that game. That's a game where I don't want to be bothered. You put your phone on Do Not Disturb. I want to soak all of that in. That's the game right there. Bills, Ravens next weekend. I'm siding with Lamar. Back to the phones. KJ is in Wesley Chapel. He joins us here. KJ, what's going on, brother?
Okay, what's up, TKras?
Hi, buddy.
Hey, man. All right, we talked late last week, the keys to the game, and it played out pretty much what we discussed. I think, man, that and I don't ever want to see a guy be fired or cut, but I think the Bucs are going to have to move on without Jamel Dean. I understand that you have injuries or whatever, man, but he's just not dependable.
Agreed.
And he's kind of like Carlton Davis 2.0. Great when he's healthy or whatever, but when you need him, kind of like he's just not there. And it really hurt us last night, man. When he went out the game, I could say the kid is a rookie, number 32, that came in there, and you just can't expect him to hold up on their best receiver. And that just, I think he gave him the touchdown and also a couple other plays. But the way Todd Bowles runs his defense, that sometimes he leaves his corners out there on the island, I just don't think we have the personnel to do that. And then if you're going to say that we're going to have these 5'10", 5'9" safeties that, you want them to come up and help and run support blitz, then you're going to have to I don't know if that scheme is going to be enough because they're injury prone. So it's kind of one of those things where, what is it that you're going to do? But again, I like to hear your response about Dean. I just don't think I don't think he's ever yet played 16 games.
Yeah,
it's constant injuries, man. So
always.
Again, I don't want to see a guy lose his salary, support his family, but I just think the Bucs may have to package him to try to get some other type of stronger defensive back that's going to be there. Go from there, man. I need to listen to your response.
Well, KJ, I think you're on to something, and I appreciate the call. And I talked about this last night on the Overtime Show, and I mentioned it earlier today, too. Look, I think the Buccaneers need to move off of Jamel Dean. I think they're really frustrated, and Todd Bowles is never going to be one like his good friend Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians will call anybody out left and right. He'll call guys out in the media. He has no problem with that. Todd is not going to do that. But I guarantee you Todd Bowles has got to be frustrated because they traded Carlton Davis. They kept Jamel Dean. Okay, both of you were injury prone. Carlton Davis more so. We're going to trade him and keep you. And Jamel Dean was just never there when the Buccaneers wanted him to be. He's never there. Frustrating. That's why I said last night, I'll say it again. I know everyone wants an edge rusher. I get it. They need an edge rusher. But almost as important as getting an edge rusher, this team needs a corner. Preferably a veteran free agent. I don't want to break in another rookie. The Bucs have high hopes and aspirations. I would prefer a veteran. And there are some guys out there available in free agency. Obviously, they're not going to be cheap. But I think you need to pay that price to get a veteran in here, preferably somebody who's dependable. All right, 2 more hours to go. Coming up in the aftermath of last night's loss, I know a lot of fans are upset. I was fielding calls until 2 a.m. this morning on the Overtime Show. The truth about Todd Bowles and his status moving forward, plus the good, the bad, and the ugly from what took place over the weekend.
gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
I think with me over, they can make that happen. Got a lot of great defensive players. That's what Coach Bowles said. The team got a great young nutrition players, guys who want to win, guys who have that mentality to take us to the next level. And you've seen it. You've seen a lot of young guys who truly this year. So they know, they understand now. Getting this feeling, getting this taste, I'm sure it's a bad taste. So I'm sure they're going to know what to expect from next year.
Levante David and the Buccaneers, a disappointing end to the season, and now he's pondering his own future as we welcome you back. Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. 5:06 on your ride home. The drive with yours truly, TKras, Tom Krasnicki, presented by Moss Nissan. Chris Mathis on the other side. It is Monday morning quarterback here on DAE, presented by Band-Aid. For every ouch, oops, and uh-oh, there's a Band-Aid band product that's best for you. Be wound care prepared and make sure you're covered with Band-Aid. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. Obviously, we're all crying in our beers today, this morning, because the game ended so late last night. You're dragging into work this morning. I can't believe the Bucs season is over. What's next? We got to fire Bowles. Boy, I was getting it on the overtime show last night. The overtime show lasted maybe too long. I mean, it was just interminable. It was crazy. I went off the air at 2 a.m. this morning fielding phone calls, yes, from a lot of angry fans, a lot of people not happy. And look, I'm not thrilled. I thought the Buccaneers had an opportunity to make a deeper run than what they did. So from that standpoint, it's disappointing. I can tell you, having been over there this morning at the Advent Health Training Center, I was there for Todd Bowles' end-of-season presser. No, he wasn't fired today. Sorry, guys. And I went into the locker room and talked to a couple of players, namely Cade Otton, had a couple of words with him, and Levante David talked to him too. You just heard that soundbite of him talking about what this team looks like. And I think the trajectory of this team is going to have an influence as to whether or not Levante David returns in 2025. And he said he's going to take some time. He's going to get away from things for a while. And as he told me after the media broke up there right around his locker, he was literally putting things into a black garbage bag while he was talking to me. And he goes, I'm just going to get away for a bit, get my mind right, get my body right. And once those two are in agreement, meaning his mind and his body, then I'll come up with my conclusion. And I'm like, yeah. I go, that sounds like a plan. I go, your mind and your body have to be right, and then you'll know when you know. He goes, exactly. He goes, I'll know when I know. And I think it's going to take a few weeks. Just like last year, it took until mid to late February, I think it was, before he decided to come back. And the 49ers were interested, which is why the Buccaneers had to step up and make Levante probably a better offer and pay him more money than they wanted to pay, but they had to. Jason Light was not going to let Levante David walk away, an all-time Buccaneer great. He's Mr. Buccaneer. He's Mr. Tampa Bay. I mean, you can't let that guy leave, and the Bucs weren't going to let him leave. Same thing, Mike Evans. The Chiefs were very interested in him, but Jason Light did the right thing in moving fast on Mike and signing him before the Chiefs got a chance to formally talk to him. But I can tell you, just like in the situation with the 49ers, who's running the 49ers? John Lynch. There was contact made, I'm suspecting, before the legal tampering period. And tampering happens all the time in the NFL, and everybody knows it. Nobody follows the rules.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, I did say that, Levante. Good seeing you today, buddy. But I think Levante is probably more likely than not returning. Now, His body's got to cooperate. And look, as a 34-year-old, he still looks good. There was that one play last night where one-on-one in the open field against the rookie, Jaden Daniels, and Levante David ran him down. Ran him out of bounds. Incredible. So he can still play. There's no question about that. And for Levante, it's the motivation. I think if this team right now was in a rebuild, then he probably wouldn't return, honestly. But I think he loves a game of football. Plus, he knows that the Buccaneers are right there. They're on the cusp. I think they're a couple of players away from really being scary. A couple of things have to happen. One, Liam Cohen has to come back next year as their offensive coordinator, and I think he's going to interview in Jacksonville. But I think, more likely than not, I think Levante returns. I think Liam Cohen returns. And despite what some of you are wishing and hoping and dreaming, I think Todd Bowles is absolutely returning. There's no question about that. But, you know, there's going to be certain parameters and contingencies that will be put in place. And I think one of them is Jason Light is going to have to go out there and focus on the defense in the draft and free agency. And I think the Buccaneers will do that. They absolutely need an edge rusher. And just as important as getting an edge rusher, this team needs a corner. Jamel Dean, unfortunately, got hurt again last night. He's not reliable. Antoine Winfield Jr. is going to be back. They paid him a lot of money. But he's got to be significantly better next year than he was this year. It was a wasted year, unfortunately, for Antoine. But I have supreme confidence in Jason Light going out there this offseason and making the necessary moves to get the Buccaneers to that elite status. And then once that elite status has been put into place, then next year is the year for Todd Bowles. You not only have to make the playoffs next year, you have to make a deep playoff run. And if he doesn't do it, then yes, his job will be in serious jeopardy. And that is the truth regarding Todd Bowles. Not getting fired now, not getting fired this year, but next year, if he doesn't meet those requirements, if he doesn't win this division and get deep into the playoffs, yes, or else. And you can absolutely figure out what the or else means. To the phones we go, 888-546-4620. The good, the bad, and the ugly coming up at 5:30. We'll take you to 7 o'clock. Patrick is in Land O'Lakes. Patrick, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Tom. You made a great observation about an hour ago suggesting that Todd Bowles needs some help. And maybe he's too prideful to ask for help. But maybe you can call Jason Light. You all smoke cigars together and say, hey, get this guy some help.
I want one of those cigars.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I appreciate it. We don't smoke cigars together. I think we share a mutual interest in cigars, and Jason is looking for another one, by the way. I didn't see him over there today, Chris Mathis.
I didn't see him in the locker room last night either. I was looking, but did not see him.
No, he was too upset. You're not going to see him. Like, when they lose, no, he's not going to make himself available. So I didn't see Jason over there today. I didn't see Baker either. Baker was nowhere to be found. But the wheels are in motion, by the way, in order to have Baker Mayfield come back on the show. The wheels are in motion. There were some conversations had today, so hopefully we can make that happen in the not-too-distant future. But, look, Baker, you heard what he said after the game. He was sick to his stomach. He was extremely disappointed. He's going to be thinking about that fumbled exchange on the jet sweep with Jalen McMillan throughout the entire offseason. And, look, Baker's tremendous, and I got some of this too. We're never going to win with Baker. We got to get rid of him. Really? Come on, guys. Seriously. Where are you going to find another quarterback right now? The draft is awful. You're not finding a quarterback there. Well, you want Kirk Cousins? If you can't beat him, sign him? Come on, you're not doing that. Give me a break. Yes, Baker's got to do a better job of taking care of the football. Even he will admit to that. He was tied for the league in interceptions. He also fumbled the ball, 14 times? That's a big number. So I think he needs to do a better job of taking care of the ball. However, the positives, he's a tough son of a bitch. He's a leader. He's a grinder. You saw him last night on that run where he ran right over Bobby Wagner, and that ignited the team. He's tough. And he finished in the top 3 in the NFL in completion percentage, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. He's the only guy who finished in the top 3 in those 3 categories. You're going to live with some of the turnovers, but you know what? He brings way more positives to the table than negatives. Not even close. You've got your franchise quarterback. He's 29 years old. He's established himself. He's proven himself on the field and off the field. You got a top 5 offense. You're going to return just about everybody. Ben Bredesen, big free agent left guard, made $3 million. I think he's going to want more than $3 million. I think he's earned it. I thought he played better than I expected him to play. Luke Gedeke is another guy to watch this offseason. I think an extension for him is certainly in the cards. But the additions need to be made on the defensive side. You need an edge rusher. Depending upon Levante, inside linebacker, you're going to get Savracier Dennis back. And you need a corner in the worst way. I can't move forward knowing that Jamel Dean is still going to be a starter on this team. The Buccaneers can't make that decision either. They can't. Byron Murphy, DJ Reed, Charvarius Ward. I know Carlton Davis is a free agent. You know that's not happening. I don't think so. We've seen that movie before. I would prefer the Buccaneers sign a veteran corner. Edge rusher, you could probably get one in the draft. The Buccaneers will pick 20th, by the way. Pick number 20. Jason Light has slammed it out of the park the last couple of years of the draft. So I have the utmost confidence that he is going to find an edge rusher. He is going to find a corner, another inside linebacker. Levante's going to return. Liam Cohen's going to return. And then you're going to shove all your chips to the middle of the table if you're Todd Bowles. And you better have pocket bullets or ace-king suited if you're doing that. Don't be sitting there with 7-2 off suit, because next year is the year for Todd Bowles. He was never going to get fired this year. They won another division. They made the playoffs again. But you know what? Next year, the expectations go way up. And Todd Bowles has to meet those expectations or else. Back to the phones. Dennis is in Wesley Chapel. Dennis, welcome in.
What's going on, TK?
Dennis, what's going on,
anyway, brother? Excuse me. Questionable play calling by the OC that we just can't let go. You know what's frustrating, TK? You know what's just not satisfying? 0-26. You know what's really wrapped around my head going back-to-back 2-14 seasons? This season was entertaining. It was satisfying up to the last game. They gave us everything to root for. They played their guts out. Now, to the play call. I think throughout the season, at times, and in the big games against like San Francisco and Kansas City, there was some questionable play calling going on inside the red zone. And then last night, the defense steps up, the one that's so maligned under Coach Bowles, and stops them on 4th and goal. They get the ball back and promptly try a wide receiver inside handoff that is an exquisite timing play, and the ball goes, there it goes. So what defense can be expected to keep a high-powered offense and a rookie that's just on fire out of the end zone 8 plays inside the 15-yard line? I don't think there are too many. And It's just a shame because I think at times this offensive coordinator tries to reinvent the wheel and calls too cute a play when all you have to do is turn around and hand the ball off to your rookie sensation running back. And if you have to run the ball 3 times and punt from inside your own 20, it's not a sin in a playoff game. So I just don't know, TKras. That was extremely questionable to me.
It was.
Thank you so much for the time, TKras.
And thank you for the call, Dennis. I really appreciate it. That's Dennis at Wesley Chapel. And I wasn't a big fan of some of the play calls offensively. And look, the Bucs had the lead going into the fourth quarter. This is where the game boiled down to. You had the lead. You were up 17-13. Commanders go down the field. They had a 1st and goal at the 1-yard line thanks to Zion McCollum, defensive pass interference. 1st and goal at the 1 and got nothing. Kalijah Kancey had a TFL. Deion Jones made a great play in coverage. Levante David as well. Turnover on downs. They got nothing. Bucs get the ball back. Fourth quarter, 17-13. And then the jet sweep to Jalen McMillan. And look, that's got to be timed perfectly. I talked about this on the overtime show. Timing is everything because he's running full speed in motion. You've got to be able to take the snap, hand it off to him without him breaking stride, and see if he can get around the corner and turn it upfield and make a big play out of it. If that timing is off and the snap is late, or you turn around too late, just as he's passing you by, as you saw last night, you have disaster on your hands. And look, they were able to execute that play how many times? How many times have we seen the Buccaneers run that jet sweep? And they practice it all the time. But here we are in a playoff game with the game on the line. Oh, my gosh, and he fumbles it inside your own 15-yard line. And Bobby Wagner recovers, and then the Commanders cash in and score a touchdown. There's your game right there. Right there. You could talk about Todd Bowles and not knowing when to use his timeouts. End of the first half, even though they scored a touchdown. End of the fourth quarter, Kalijah Kancey couldn't get Jaden Daniels down to the ground. Another huge play. And then that last field goal by Zane Gonzalez that goes off the upright and in. That was hurtful, man. Oh, just bad execution. It was another case of the Bucs beating the Bucs. And yes, you got to give a lot of credit to Jaden Daniels. He's special. And if you're the Buccaneers, that's the guy you got to face and beat for the next 8 to 10 years. I'm not worried about Bryce Young necessarily, although he turned it around in a big way thanks to our good friend Dave Canales. Jaden Daniels, the Bucs watched him last night up close and personal, and even though he's in a different division, he's in the NFC. That guy is going to be standing in your way for the next 8 to 10 years, and you better figure out a way to beat him. You got to go out and get more speed at linebacker. You got to get Savasier Dennis healthy. You got to get a speed edge rusher to put some pressure on him and go out and get a corner who knows how to turn around at the right time and avoid pass interference in the end zone, Zion McCollum, or get hurt like Jamel Dean does every other week. Go find me a corner, somebody who's upright, damn it. Find him. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. All right, coming up, he was with us very early in the show. Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus. Fantastic insight into the Buccaneers, where they're at right now, where they're going, what type of changes they need to make in the offseason. Trevor Sikkema at 6:05, in case you missed him earlier. It was a compelling conversation with him. We'll also get with the head coaching news from around the NFL with him because of big news today. Mike McCarthy out in Dallas. He had an expiring contract. He could not come to terms with Jerry Jones, and now he is free to pursue any head coaching opportunities, and he will get another head coaching job. Whether it's the Bears, possibly the Saints. I think the Jets might be a dark horse, but I think Bears and Saints certainly are going to be right in his wheelhouse. So that's going to be an interesting development. And when we come back, more of your calls. Mike, I see you there. And a lot happening over the weekend. A lot of good, a lot of bad, and a lot of ugliness. And that's coming your way next here on The Drive.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
It is The Drive presented by our guys over at Moss Nissan, Brad Meredith and the crew, where their goal is to never lose your business over price. I bought my last 2 vehicles over at Moss Nissan because they're exceptional. Their sales department is exemplary. Their service department is outstanding, especially on the Tampa side. So if you're looking for a new or pre-owned vehicle in 2025, have no fear. You got to get on over to Moss Nissan. Holiday hangover, credit card debt maybe have you down. No problem. They've got the cure, Chris.
We sure do. We have the recipe just for you. No money down, plus no payments are due until the spring.
And when you buy your vehicle over at Moss Nissan, you'll get Moss Care with every purchase. What does that mean? That means you'll get unlimited oil changes and tire rotations for as long as you own the vehicle. It's a beautiful thing.
And these are just a few of the biggest and best things they offer. There's so much more they offer at Moss Nissan, any of those 3 locations. You also get to select from the largest Nissan inventory in Tampa Bay.
So when I bought my second vehicle, I went online to mossnissan.com. You can check out their inventory there. I went over, I looked at some of the cars that were available. I'm like, you know what? I want this one in this color. I called up my guy, Brad Meredith. He's like, which is the one you're talking about? I said, this one right here on your website. He's like, I'll have it for you tomorrow. That's how they do it over at Moss Nissan. They've got 3 convenient locations, Tampa, Newport Richie, and Brooksville. And again, online at mossnissan.com. Moss Nissan, whatever it takes.
at Staples.
Strap in and buckle up. This is The Drive with TKras, brought to you by Moss Nissan on WDAE.
I'm telling you, like a gunfight at the OK Corral, you better be quick on the draw, Todd Bowles. Or for the risk of getting blown away next year if you don't meet those expectations. Welcome back on your ride home on this Monday. I know a lot of you are dragging. I hope you had a good day at work. I hope you had a great weekend. It is a drive with yours truly, Tom Krasnicki. Chris Mathis on the other side. We're taking you until 7 o'clock here on this Monday, on the day after the Bucs season comes to an end. Just really frustrating. Oof is right. Infuriating as well. A lot happening over the weekend. That is certainly ugly. There was some good, there was some bad, and there was some ugly out there. You can give us yours, by the way, at 888-546-4620. Text it at 82945. It could be sports. It could be something that could have happened to you over the weekend. I want to hear about it. I want to hear all about your life. Give me your life story.
All right, here we go, Tom. Let me give you my life story.
Okay, give me your life story, Chris Mathis.
I was born 1998, Chris Mathis. Here we go. Rest is history. We'll see what happens now.
1998. Oh my gosh, you're a kid.
Learning from some that, are regarded as the best at what they do.
Where? The best at what?
Oh, come on.
The best at being the worst? I'm the best at being the worst, according to some people.
But to others, you are a hero.
I'll tell you this. When I showed up at the Advent Health Training Center this morning, and my schedule is such that it's hard for me to get there when they have a media availability. Like during the season, it's almost impossible because of the schedule, and they have a lot of their availability in the afternoon, and I can't be there because I got to be here. So I got to tell you, when I walked in there, everyone's looking at me like I have 3 heads or something, or 3 eyeballs. Like, hey, look who's here. I'm like, yeah, I'm still alive, yes. I'm glad that I was missed around here, around those parts. But it was good being there today. That was the good. Also, the good from last night, Mike Evans. And we haven't talked about this nearly enough, only because the Buccaneers lost. Had the Buccaneers won that game, I think all we would be talking about today is how Mike Evans absolutely roasted Marshawn Lattimore. He smoked him. Jerk store. He smoked his ass. Mike, 7 catches, 92 yards and a touchdown. And were you the one who said that to me, Cam Jordan?
Oh, yeah. No, I saw that.
What a jackass he is.
And then he followed up today, comments like, hey, what'd I tell you? Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, I mean, because technically his team with Lattimore did beat Mike Evans' team.
It wasn't because of Lattimore. I can tell you that. The Bucs lost that game because the Bucs beat the Bucs. And look, Jaden Daniels had a lot to do with it. But it wasn't because Marshawn Lattimore did a great job covering Mike Evans.
Lattimore, I should say, Jordan tweeted today how this one aged to his take yesterday about the Kingslayer, Marshawn Lattimore to Mike Evans.
It aged poorly. What the hell was he watching? He needs to be tested for, drugs. I think he's got a concussion. How did this one age? Are you kidding me? Were you watching the same game? Mike Evans absolutely flambéed your boy, Marshawn Lattimore. Punk-ass fool. Bucky Irving, he was also pretty good yesterday. He wasn't great in the first half, then the Bucs got him going. I really want to see more of Bucky in the second half. Unfortunately, the Buccaneers ran 44 plays, not nearly enough, because the defense couldn't get off the field nearly enough. I want to see more Bucky. We didn't see it. We saw a lot of Jaden Daniels, and that kid is special. 268, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he's going to be a problem for a long, long time. And again, to go back to what I said last night on the Overtime Show, I just mentioned it. If you're the Bucs, right now you're scheming on how to get past that guy, because that guy is going to be in your way the next 8 to 10 years. Also good from over the weekend, wild card weekend. In a losing effort, I thought Ladd McConkey, the rookie, was sensational. 9 catches, almost 2 500 yards. It's just unfortunate because when Justin Herbert wasn't throwing him the ball, he was throwing it to the other team. Josh Allen and the Bills were fantastic. So were Lamar, Derrick Henry, 186 yards, a couple of touchdowns against the Steelers. Boy, Ravens and Bills setting up that matchup next Sunday night. Give me some of that. I can hardly wait. And Ohio State on Friday night, disposing of Texas. How about Jack Sawyer? That was pretty cool, man. The strip sack, the fumble, returned it for a touchdown. Really turned that game around and led Ohio State to the national championship game. Ohio State and Notre Dame should be a heck of a game next Monday night, by the way. And we're going to have that game for you right here on WDAE. The bad from over the weekend, Justin Herbert, 4 interceptions, dreadful. He threw 3 during the regular season. He threw 4 in that playoff game Saturday against Houston. Jordan Love, bad. 3 interceptions. What didn't help matters was the fact that, offensive linemen dropping left and right. 2 of his receivers got hurt. Romeo Doubs got concussed again. Jaden Reed was injured. If the Packers hadn't lost so many big names during that game, I think they would have kept that game really close against Philadelphia, if not beat the Eagles. I was not impressed with the Eagles last night. And also bad, I just talked about it, Cam Jordan and his ridiculous take on Marshawn Lattimore, who got his ass lit up by Mike Evans. I mean, there were tire marks up and down Marshawn Lattimore's back and rear end after what Mike Evans did to him. Give me a break. Ugly, A.J. Brown reading a book on the sidelines. I mean, what in the world was that? That was terrible. Also terrible is a story that came out today, and this is scary, folks. A 55-year-old man in Texas arrested today on felony stalking charges in Indianapolis on Sunday after he allegedly sent threats. Some of those were sexually violent messages to Caitlin Clark via social media. This guy's a freaking lunatic. If you read what he said on X, he messaged Clark saying, "I've been driving around your house 3 times a day. But don't call the law just yet. The public is allowed to drive by Gainbridge, a.k.a. Caitlin's field house." And then he messaged her another message stating, "I'm getting tickets. I'm sitting behind the bench." And he sent some sexually violent messages, which, I don't have here. Quite frankly, I don't even want to see them. You can only imagine what they look like. Stalker, ugly. So there you have it. My good, my bad, my ugly. Obviously, the bad is the Buccaneers season also coming to an end. Chris Mathis?
Yeah, I do have a few things, and some of which we did agree upon. Either way, good. Bucs made the playoffs this year, which was exciting. 5th consecutive year. Won the division. They officially found their franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield. That's something that's promising and you can build upon in the years to come. The bad, the fumble in yesterday's game. And the Bucs not continuing to feed the ball to Mike Evans. I know that Dan Quinn made some adjustments there in the second half, but the fact that it felt as if Mike Evans just wasn't much a part of the game plan in the 3rd and 4th quarter frustrated me. They did not get the ball to their best playmaker last night, in my opinion, aside from Bucky Irving as the game progressed. And then the ugly might also fit in the good and the bad. The good and the bad is Mike McCarthy getting canned by Dallas. It's good for the Dallas Cowboys, bad for everybody else, and ugly for the Buccaneers because all of us here are Buccaneer fans. We don't care for the Cowboys, of course, and don't care for Mike McCarthy either.
Listen, I think Mike McCarthy's a good man.
Good man, yeah, but good coach.
He's going to get another job. I mean, that is without question. He's going to get another job. And somebody texted him before. Really good question. He said, "Hey, question for you, Tom. If Todd Bowles were to be fired, would he get another head coaching job?" I don't think so. I don't know, like, if the Bears would be interested or the Saints. I mean, this is his second head coaching opportunity, and much of the same problems that plagued him when he was with the Jets is starting to plague him here. But because he's won 3 straight division titles, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, he's not getting fired. But next year, it's put up or shut up time for Todd Bowles, and I think he understands that. But theoretically speaking, like if he got let go, I don't think he would get another head coaching job, in my opinion. Mike is in Tampa. Mike, how are you, bud?
I'm doing well. Enjoying the show, all of your comments. But you made a comment about the critical play being the fumble. I personally was at the game and looking right down at the play that I think made the difference, and that's when we had the ball, I think, on the 12 or something like that, and Bucky Irving went around, and it got 9 yards, and so we had 2nd and 1, and we end up having to kick a field goal. We couldn't get 1 yard. We tried to, Bucky, I think, on a little bit of a sweep, but we lost 4. Then we tried to play into the end zone pass. That didn't succeed. And the fans actually, a lot of them started to boo when they went out to kick the field goal. But if they got a touchdown at that point, then they're up 4. And I think there were only like 4 minutes left in the game.
Right.
Then we would have won the game. They couldn't have come down and kicked the field goal. And so to me, that was the critical play. The fumble, yeah, and we gave them the points, but we still could have come up and put the separation of 4 by scoring, but not going straight up the gut 2 times if need be to get 1 more yard and another first down.
Well, that was a critical sequence, Mike. You're right, and I appreciate the call. I did not like the Baker Mayfield design run. You were 2nd and 1 from the Washington 12 with 6:09 left, and you're trying to run Baker Mayfield up the middle on a design run. I didn't like that. Baker Mayfield's best runs happen off schedule, where he's got to pull the ball down on a passing play and he's running because for some reason the opponents don't assign a spy. The Buccaneers had 1, even 2 spies on Jaden Daniels in the second half of that game late, which takes, another guy out of the back end to play coverage. But that was a critical call sequence. I mean, gosh, you're down in this game, and this was the sequence. It was 20-17 Washington. And you're driving down the field. Bucs had 1st and 10 at the Washington 21. Bucky Irving. Remember, he took the ball around left end. He got 9 yards. 2nd and 1 from the Washington 12. Design run, Baker Mayfield out of the shotgun. Baker Mayfield up the middle, no gain. Tackled by Bobby Wagner. And then it's 3rd and 1, and that was the play where Graham Barton didn't snap it on time. That was an absolute blank show. Where the Buccaneers lost 2 yards, made it 4th and 3 from the 14, and then Todd Bowles decided to kick the field goal to tie the game with 4:41 left. Critical. Because I think if it's 4th and 1, and Todd said this today, he would have won for it on 4th and 1. But he said 4th and 3 after what just happened with Graham Barton and the bad snap. You're down 3. It's less than 5 minutes left. I didn't have a problem kicking the field goal and tying the game at 4th and 3. If it was 4th and 2, 4th and 1, I think I'm going for it. And then the Commandos get the ball with 4:41 left, and the Bucs just could not get off the field. They went right down the field, and that Jaden Daniels scramble where Kalijah Kancey had him. Kalijah Kancey had him dead to rights with 55 seconds left, and Daniels escaped from him, dove forward for the first down because the Buccaneers had a timeout left. And they would have called the timeout with 50 seconds left, and maybe from I don't know, the 23-yard line. It's a 40-yard attempt. Zane Gonzalez hit the upright at 37 yards. Maybe from 40 yards, maybe he misses. But Kalijah Kancey not getting Jaden Daniels down was huge. It's the Bucs just beating the Bucs, as we saw all year long. Players got to make plays. You know, everyone wants to blame Todd Bowles, and there are certain things you can blame him on. But at the end of the day, guys, players got to make plays. Antoine Winfield Jr., you got to make a play. Kalijah Kancey, you got to make a play. Liam Cohen, you can't be running, quarterback design runs, 2nd and 1. Bucky Irving is slicing and dicing them up. Hand it to Bucky, for crying out loud. Getting all worked up again, Mathis. All right, more of your calls and texts coming up. On the other side, what's on tonight? There's plenty on tonight. Trevor Sikkema, too, coming up. And the latest head coaching news in the NFL. Big news out of Dallas. That is next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
We're live inside the Rude Air and Water Studios here at iHeartRadio. And air and water, by the way, are two things a certified Rude Pro partner knows an awful lot about. You know you can rely on Rude to keep your indoor air comfortable. If your heat is not working or your AC is not working, these are the guys you need to call. And now you know you can rely on Rude to make sure your hot water's flowing whenever you need it, especially with the temperatures dropping. We've had a very cold month of January. That's going to continue. If your hot water is not working, you got to call on my guys over at Rude. Rude Water Heating is the industry leader for total water heating solutions. If you need conventional tank-type water heaters, they've got it. Tankless water heaters, that's what I have, by the way. They've got that, too. Replacement parts, accessories, they've got it all. Rude is your one-stop solutions provider. And with the exclusive backing of Ferguson HVAC, guess what? Your certified Rude Pro partners get the best products and parts when you need it. Rude water heaters, engineered tough and built to last. So for AC and water heating solutions, connect with a certified Rude Pro partner. Reach out to them at rudeacflorida.com. That's Rude, R-U-U-D, acflorida.com. They're the best, Jerry, the best. Tell them TKras sent you.
Raymond James Stadium, May 2nd through 4th. Tickets at countrythunder.com.
Now back to The Drive with TKras on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620. What's on tonight with The Drive with TKras?
Yes, sir, and here he is, the executive producer of this fine program, Chris Mathis.
All right, usually it's hideous. Today we have turned the page, Tom, and now you're saying it is a fine program here on WDAE. We've got some NFL playoff football taking place tonight between the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Rams. Kicks off at 8 o'clock on ABC or the four-letter network. Not going to want to miss that game, of course. And if you miss anything from today's show, including a lot of discussion on your Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, his future, what might happen to Liam Cohen, advice for Todd Bowles, it's all been podcasted right there in the free iHeartRadio app. It's new and improved. Search up The Drive.
You're trying to stir up.
Yeah, Mathis. Baker said you're just trying to stir it up.
Hey, no, I just shook his hand, man. I didn't try to stir anything up.
That's right. So you approached Baker in the locker room last night? Is that what happened?
Yeah, as he was getting ready to leave the locker room, I just walked out into that hallway as well, and I turned around, and there's Baker, and he stopped walking for a second, went to pull his phone out, and I just approached him real quick. I said, hey, excuse me. I said, just wanted to say thanks for such a great season this year. Looking forward to what you'll accomplish next year. And he said, thank you very much, man, and shook my hand. So, I don't know. I was happy and, of course, surprised by that because coming off a loss like that, season's over. He already did his mandatory discussions and interviews and his podium talk, so he didn't have to say anything to me, but he did. So nice return there, and great guy, obviously.
And I think he has matured a great deal. And I was feeling a couple of calls, not many, last night on the overtime show about the need. Maybe Baker turns it over too many times, and maybe you're not moving off that guy. First off, you've got, and he's climbed into the top 10. He's a top 10 quarterback now. So is Jaden Daniels, by the way. As a rookie, that dude is already a top 10 quarterback in this league. And he's among the leaders in passing yards, touchdowns, completion percentage. He's tough, scrappy. I mean, he's a leader, and guys love him. Absolutely love him. K-Don was talking about him in the locker room today, about his leadership quality and how guys absolutely want to go to bat for him. Love to go to war with that guy. How much he means to that locker room and that building and to this team and to this community as well. I mean, you got a franchise quarterback, Tampa Bay, and he's 29 years old. So if he takes care of himself, yeah, he exposes himself to some hits, but that's who he is. You can't stop him from being him. Yeah, you just want him to take a little bit better care of the football, but that's going to happen. He's been compared favorably to Brett Favre in that respect. I think Favre was probably more physically talented than Baker is, but I think you see a lot of the same type of traits and the temperament and his love for the game and how fiery he is and how much guys certainly gravitate towards him. And, you found your quarterback. He is your guy. You picked him up for nothing. By the way, Todd Bowles was a guy who wanted him here, and he got him. Todd Bowles also hired Dave Canales and Liam Cohen, so don't act like Todd Bowles hasn't done anything around here. Yes, Todd Bowles needs help in a lot of different categories. And when we come back, we got one more hour to go. What does Todd Bowles need to do this offseason? And will his job be on the line next year? What do the Buccaneers need this offseason? What about the head coaching carousel in the NFL? And what is the likely Super Bowl matchup? A lot of Bucs and NFL questions. We'll get them. Our guy, Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus, he will join the show coming up next.
You're locked in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, whether it's an injury, accident, product liability, or medical malpractice, be careful on your ride home because as I found out a couple of months back, an injury accident can happen to anyone. And when it happened to me, from the accident scene, I called on my guy, Joe Catania, the people over at Catania & Catania, the personal injury law firm. They've been doing their thing the last 30 years. They work on a contingency, which means they don't get paid unless you get paid. So whether it's an injury, accident, product liability, medical malpractice, Social Security disability, these are the guys you need to call. They're experienced. They're highly successful. They will go the extra mile for you. They're protecting my rights, and I'm glad they are. They can protect your rights as well. Here's the number, 813-222-8545. That's 813-222-8545. Or get a free evaluation of your case online at Catania and Catania.com, where they put families first. Office staff.
With its and off the field, pair it with Old Spice Swagger deodorant, the #1 aluminum-free brand that keeps you feeling like a Super Bowl champion 24/7 when used daily. But don't wait. This dynamic duo is available at Costco for a limited time only. Old Spice, official deodorant partner of the NFL and Super Bowl 59, where freshness meets football greatness.
Hi, Bobby Maggie here. You can pay less tax with Maggie Tax. Your CPA may help to file your taxes, but are they providing you with advanced tax planning strategies? Are they helping to reduce your income tax, eliminate estate tax, and capital gains taxes? At Maggie Tax, we will implement advanced tax planning strategies that can save you tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Don't just file your taxes, save on taxes. Call us for a free tax plan analysis and pay less tax at Maggie Tax. 833-MAGGIE-TAX.
Your brain holds all the pathways to memories, to dreams, the very essence of your human spirit. At Advent Health Brain and Spine Institute, our experts protect those pathways. With state-of-the-art technology and groundbreaking treatments, we care for the most complex neurological conditions, so you can keep moving, keep dreaming, keep being your whole self. Advent Health. Feel whole. Visit thebrainandspineexperts.com.
Hey, it's Pat and Aaron from the Pat and Aaron Show. If you have an injury that requires surgery, you can feel confident that you're going to get the best results when you work with Florida Orthopedic Institute in partnership with Tampa General Hospital, where they perform thousands of orthopedic surgical procedures every year, allowing them to be more efficient and provide better quality outcomes.
And it's so easy to book. Right now, go online to floridaortho.com or just call 1-800-FL-ORTHO to book that world-class orthopedic care right here in Tampa Bay.
I love it.
Join the millions already on the new and improved iHeartRadio app.
It's so easy to use.
The live radio dial, presets, scan, plus lyrics, podcasts, and your favorite artists' radio.
Just type it in, and there it is.
Now it's even easier to discover what you love.
I love my presets. Adding presets is so much fun.
This looks really nice. Just in time for the new year, the new and improved iHeartRadio app. It's everything you love about your car radio in the palm of your hand.
Very cool update. 5 stars, guys.
How do you spot the all-new Nissan Rogue Rock Creek? Here's a hint. It's got all-terrain tires, a tubular roof rack you can't miss, and it's tough inside and out with lava red detailing. You'll also find it in its natural habitat, climbing mountains, attacking rugged trails, and never backing down from any adventure. The first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
Intelligent all-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. Always secure cargo. Heavy loading of the vehicle with cargo, especially on the roof, will affect the handling and stability of the vehicle.
Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded. This is Monday Morning Quarterback, presented by Listerine on WDAE. Everything Tampa Bay sports. We are 95.3 W237CW Pinellas Park, WRUB HD3 Clearwater, and a mighty AM 620 WDAE St. Petersburg, an iHeart radio station. It's Monday, from Dunedin to Seminole, and all around Tampa Bay, plus worldwide on iHeartRadio.
The gloves are off. I'm playing hardball. It's 4th and 15, and you're looking at a full court press.
You're tuned into the voice of the Tampa Bay sports fan.
You're going to like this guy. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us.
Buckle up, because you're on the drive with TKras. Afternoons on 95.3 WDAE and AM 620.
Personally, we've gotten very close over the years I've been here. He's a coach on the field. He's our captain. He's a leader. He's a heck of a person off the field. He's our bell cow. When things go wrong, he'll fix it from a mental standpoint in the locker room. He gets everybody lined up in the right plays. He understands the game as well as making a ton of plays himself.
Todd Bowles talking about his very close relationship with Levante David. Did we see the last of Levante last night in that playoff loss to the Commanders? Levante says he's going to take some time, get away from things for a while, and then he'll make up his decision later on at some point. Good evening, Tampa Bay. Welcome back. 6:08 on your ride home. The Drive with yours truly, TKras, Tom Krasnicki, presented by Moss Nissan. Chris Mathis on the other side. More of your calls and texts, 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. We'll get them in. I know a lot of you are lamenting the end of the Bucs season. We're all very disappointed over it. We're going to discuss it with you all the way up until 7 o'clock. Monday Morning Quarterback here on DAE, presented by Band-Aid. For every ouch, oops, and uh-oh, there's a Band-Aid band product that's best for you. Be wound care prepared and make sure you're covered with Band-Aid. So we'll get into that. The head coaching carousel, a lot going on in the NFL. Don't forget, Vikings and the Rams tonight to round out Wild Card Weekend. The winner of tonight's game goes to Philadelphia, where the Buccaneers should be, honestly. But it was another case of the Bucs beating the Bucs yesterday in a bitterly disappointing loss to the Commandos at Raymond James Stadium. So, whose fault is it? What do the Buccaneers need to do moving forward? And should Todd Bowles be culpable as well? Let's go to the Central Florida Behavioral Health Network DA hotline. Learn more at cfbhn.org. He's standing by. This guy I know has all the answers. He was here in Tampa Bay. Now he's on to bigger and better things. One of the brighter football minds in the business. Our guy, Trevor Sikkema, with Pro Football Focus, is back with me here on The Drive. Trev, how the hell are you, man?
TKras, I'm doing good, my friend. Appreciate you having me on the show, as always, even if you guys are having me on after a Bucs playoff loss, which feels cruel, but I know we got to talk about it here, so I appreciate you having me.
Well, we are, and I told Chris Mathis, I go, I want Trevor on win or loss, just so we can clear that up. You know, we're just not having you on as the hatchet man, but you know, unfortunately, the season is over, and I saw some of your tweets last night, and, you know, I've heard it from fans. You've heard it from fans about Todd Bowles, and look,
right,
he's never going to be Andy Reid. I think we know and understand that, but, you know, in 3 years, 3 division titles, 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, you know, he's not going to get removed this year, but the bar is going to be raised next year, Trevor, so give me your sense and your opinion as to where you think the Bucs are at now and where they should be at next year.
Yeah, I can honestly understand where a lot of the conversation is coming from on all angles, honestly. I think that you set it up correctly. they're not going to move on from Todd Bowles, even if that means losing Liam Cohen. Now, I don't think it's a guarantee that they're going to lose Liam Cohen. It sort of depends on what other NFL teams that have head coaching openings, think of him and how highly they regard him as a one-year offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay and the success that he has had there. So, yeah, I mean, could some team want to get him as a head coach? I think that's obviously a possibility there. And the idea of the Bucs now having to go 3 straight years to replace an offensive coordinator, I think that's a tall task. But look, the fact of the matter is, Todd Bowles absolutely has deficiencies. Certainly as a head coach, the play, the time management and the timeout management was once again just a head scratching thing for him. And it feels as though when it comes to some of those 4th down decisions, he's not as progressive as maybe you would want him to be for the modern game of football. But the fact of the matter is this: they've won the division 4 years in a row now. They have made the playoffs 5 straight seasons. TKras, you've been covering this team a long time. I grew up rooting for this team. They'd never won back-to-back divisions, not once before they have done it here in this streak. And so for the Buccaneers, who for a long time in their franchise history were called the Yucks, right? At one point they had the lowest win percentage of any team in the 4 major sports in North America. They're not going to be very quick to move on from a guy who has helped sort of take the torch to get to this point. And I'm just saying that from more of an unbiased opinion of people want Todd Bowles gone. I agree with you. It's not going to happen. And I honestly, losing Liam Cohen would suck, but at this point, the continuity sort of is what it is. And you need that. You need that going into next season. I agree with you that if a deeper playoff run and if higher expectations aren't met next year, then you can actually have the conversation. I think what Bucs fans are worried about is they're worried that they might lose Liam Cohen and then the Bucs don't hit expectations next year. And if they were to move on from Bowles next year, then they'll be throwing their hands in the air and be like, why didn't we do this year before? We could have kept Liam Cohen. And so I understand where everybody is coming from in this regard. But I think you are completely right. They're not moving on from him. This consistency of winning has never existed for the Buccaneers, and they're just not going to easily move on from that, even in the situations that they have right now.
And you know as well as anybody that you don't turn into one of the youngest teams in the NFL. They were one of the oldest teams, Brady's last year, and you don't see this happen in the league where you go from a rebuild and you still continue that, that success in terms of getting to the playoffs and winning the division. I know it's a bad division, but there's something to be said about the job that Todd Bowles and Jason Light have done when a couple of years ago they had one of the oldest teams in the league, upside down on the salary cap, to being one of the youngest teams. You draft well, you had to jettison some veterans, and you still end up going to the playoffs year after year. There's something needs to be said for that, right?
No, absolutely. And I think that the frustrating part about Bowles is you worry about where the ceiling is, right? I think that's what fans are frustrated with is they're like, well, you're never going to win a Super Bowl with him as a head coach because of, again, some of, his hesitancy to be a little bit more aggressive and, 4th down decisions and certainly the timeout management that I referenced earlier. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's a damn good football coach. I mean, he's a brilliant defensive mind. He is. He has been throughout his entire time in the NFL, whether he's been a defensive coordinator or a head coach. And he raises the floor of this team so high because of his football IQ and his football acumen. And again, is it frustrating because you think that we might have hit the ceiling with Bowles and where he is with the Buccaneers? Yeah, I can understand that that's where fans' frustrations are. But again, this is not a franchise. I mean, look at teams that have tried to do this at other times, right? I mean, Belichick to Gerard Mayo. I mean, Vrabel getting fired with the Tennessee Titans. The grass ain't always greener. And I know that you feel like you've got an opportunity now with some veterans who are on the roster and the younger guys getting better and obviously having Baker Mayfield in hand. Nobody wants to waste time. But it's just not going to happen. They're not going to move on from a coach who has raised the floor of this organization so high without knowing for sure that there's somebody else out there who can maintain the standard that they have had while also giving you a bigger ceiling. And I just do not think that this year is the year they're going to make that move to try to find out.
Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus, is with me here on The Drive. All right, finish this sentence. The Buccaneers' biggest offseason priority is what?
Pass rush, edge rusher, something. I mean, you watched last night, and a big issue that the Buccaneers had, of course, the injuries that they've gone through in the secondary and Jamel Dean going out and Josh Hayes coming to come in. I mean, I know people are, killing Hayes for his performance last night and some of the things he's given up. I mean, he's a special teams guy, man. And you're putting him out there in the playoffs to guard Terry McLaurin. Of course it was not going to work out well for you. What I actually think is the biggest issue that the Buccaneers have right now is their pass rush. There is nobody outside of Kalijah Kancey that can really consistently win one-on-one on that defensive line. Now, I like Yaya Diaby. I'd like him a lot more if he was my edge two, my second best edge rusher when it came to rushing the passer, than to try to rely on him as an edge one type of a player. So whether it's in the pro market, which is feels like it's more unlikely, right? Great pass rushers don't exactly become available very often, although, hey, there's a damn good one in Cleveland who, depending on what happens with their quarterback situation, might out in Myles Garrett. I don't know if Tampa would be willing to pay that price, but I think that's something that you think about. But in the draft, going towards the draft, which is Jason Light's bread and butter, I think in that first round, your number one priority is edge rusher, because right now they just do not have a guy who can win on one-on-one, and that showed up last night with their inability to get pressure. And it forced Todd Bowles to be, I think, a little bit more aggressive in certain situations than he maybe wanted to on the early downs, because he knew that he didn't have that player that could get home. And there were so many third down situations and fourth down situations where Jaden Daniels is sitting back there way too long, because he knows that it's too easy for him to navigate the field and maybe rotate left or right, because there's just not a pass rusher that really scares him there. So to me, the number one priority for this team is you have to get much better in the pass rushing category. And I think last night shined a light on that.
What about corner? Because Jamel Dean was hurt again. I think that this is a guy you can't rely on, Trevor, moving forward. Zion McCollum is a good young guy on the other side, but I think this team has a screaming need for a corner, probably more of a veteran corner, a guy who understands how to cover, who understands how to play zone and man-to-man. So someone you don't want to have to break in. But I think corner's a very high priority. What say you?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And it sort of goes back to the way that this team was constructed earlier and sort of what has happened since Carlton Davis has left. When this team was sort of constructed in a certain way when they made their Super Bowl run, Carlton Davis was that CB1. Jamel Dean was able to be that CB2. And then you could have, a couple of different players in the slot, and they really had a great safety rotation back when they were winning their Super Bowl to be one of those slot defenders and safety type of players on the back end and in the strong safety spot. So when you move on from Carlton Davis, and I'm not necessarily saying that was the wrong move, but when you move on from Carlton Davis, now you're bumping everybody up a spot. Now you're saying, okay, well, Jamel Dean can't be the CB2. Now he has to be the CB1. Now Zion McCollum can't be the rotational CB3. Now he's got to be in there all the time, starting all the time type of a CB2. And I just think that it was a little too much for Dean. I like Dean, but I feel like he's a CB2 at best at the NFL level, and asking him to have CB1 responsibilities, especially given how much he has been in and out of the lineup, is asking for trouble. Now, I think that there's conversations that might be had with the Packers with Jair Alexander. I know his contract is big, but it feels like, I know that you're sort of having the same conversation with him missing time. Do you want to trade for a guy who's been beat up and has gone through injuries himself? Probably not. But if you're looking in the pro market for a major upgrade, I think that that's somebody who might become available and might make sense for them. But ultimately, again, you look towards the NFL draft. I'd like Zion McCollum to remain as a CB2 type of a player to continue to get better, because I thought he looked way better than I thought that he was going to look this year. So I'm excited about his progress. But you've got to be able to find a CB1, in my opinion. And Jamel Dean I just don't think he's a CB1 type, and he's missed too much time to really rely on him moving forward. So I agree with you completely. Corner is another need that they have to look at pretty heavily this offseason.
All right, a couple more things for Trevor Sikkema. Mike McCarthy not returning to Dallas. We now have 6 openings once again. Where do you think he ends up, and what do you think the Cowboys are going to do?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I don't know what the Cowboys are going to do. I mean, I wasn't so sure that Mike McCarthy was going to get out of Dallas. It just felt like him and Jerry's connection was pretty strong. I don't know what. I don't think. Here's the thing. I don't think that Jerry just lets him go without some sort of plan. So they're scheming something. I just don't really know what it's going to be in Dallas. You know, for as much as I think people joke about Mike McCarthy and who he is as a head coach, and I think he's the butt of a lot of jokes, like I think the guy does know quarterbacks. I think he is a pretty good coach, and he gives you a pretty high floor. Again, as a coach, I do look at Chicago. You know, if Ben Johnson's not interested in the Chicago job or doesn't want the Chicago job, and Chicago's kind of striking out a little bit, I know felt like they were interested in Pete Carroll, so I wonder if this is sort of the same vibe, but perhaps a Mike McCarthy to get to work with Caleb Williams and exactly what it takes to be a pro and all that experience that he has had with Dak Prescott and Aaron Rodgers going back to Green Bay. I wonder if sort of setting a higher floor for the Chicago Bears could actually be something that might make sense for them. So I wonder if Chicago is a destination, but I also heard, some rumors about New Orleans being a potential spot. So, maybe Tampa fans will get to know Mike McCarthy a little bit better if he ends up getting that job.
Of the teams remaining, who do you like the most? Do you think it's a foregone conclusion that Kansas City makes it all the way to the Super Bowl? I like Baltimore. I think from what I've seen out of Lamar Jackson down the stretch, I think the Ravens come out of the AFC, but what say you?
Yeah, it's the famous last words, but I agree with you. I at this point, I would take the Ravens. They're just playing too well. Lamar is playing too well. And here's the thing, TKras. They lose last year in Baltimore against the Kansas City Chiefs in a way that kind of stung, right? It felt like they played one of their worst games, and they felt bad about it. Now they open the season in 2024 against the Chiefs in Arrowhead, and they're, an Isaiah Likely toe away from potentially winning that game, and it just feels like the Ravens have been right there with the Chiefs. The ball just hasn't bounced their way. I think the ball bounces their way, and if they can get past Buffalo, I think they're going to get past Kansas City as well. In terms of the NFC, I think the Eagles are absolutely rolling, but it's so hard to bet against Detroit now that they've got the 1 seed, a little bit of rest, and home field advantage. So if I was picking right now a Super Bowl matchup, I'd say that it's Ravens and Lions, and what a shootout that would be. That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun. I agree with you. All right, he's our own Trevor Sikkema, Pro Football Focus at Tampa Bay Trey on X. Does a great job for them. Trev, I always appreciate our conversations. We'll talk to you soon, my man. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
You got it. Trevor Sikkema, great stuff there. You can follow him at Pro Football Focus. Also does a great job of covering the draft, and there'll be another number of edge guys. I know the Pierce kid from Tennessee. I know Ronnie's been telling me about him. When Ronnie comes in on Friday, he'll give you more of a scouting report. But I would think edge rusher, yeah, maybe with that 20th pick, that's going to be a priority. But the Bucs absolutely. And I would prefer to be a veteran guy. I don't want to have a rookie corner out there learning the ropes. Give me a veteran guy. DJ Reed. I'm looking at him. I'm looking at Byron Murphy. I'm looking at one of those two guys. I mean, there's got to be a way to maybe pry one of those guys. And I was looking at some numbers. DJ Reed is 29 years old. $11 million a year. So, man, he's going to get paid this offseason by somebody. Let's see. Jonathan Jones, also free agent. Byron Murphy made the Pro Bowl. Vikings, 27 years old. He's 2 years younger. Maybe Byron Murphy, a younger version at 27, but he's certainly going to command a very hot market. Corners, that's a premium position now. You want a good one, you're going to have to pay through the nose. And look, as Trevor mentioned, I don't know if there are any veteran pass rushers. I mean, those guys don't become available. He mentioned Myles Garrett. There's some talk that maybe he's going to want to discuss or reassess his situation in Cleveland. There's been some talk about Micah Parsons and I mentioned quite a few times, Micah Parsons, my goodness. If Jerry Jones foolishly wants to make that guy available via trade, the Buccaneers have to be all over it. All over it. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. Speaking of the Cowboys, big news regarding them and some head coaching news, and an assistant GM for the Buccaneers might take a GM job elsewhere. He took one step closer to that today. I'm going to tell you who that is and what came about there. A lot of NFL talk and your phone calls coming your way next here on The Drive.
You're tuned in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, the new year is here, and my guys over at Green Tech Roofing and Solar, they can certainly help you out if you're in the need of a new roof. If you need roof repair in 2025, there's only one place to go. My friends over at Green Tech Roofing and Solar, that's the ticket. My guy John Franco does an exceptional job. They helped me out after Hurricane Milton. I had some roof damage. Green Tech came over, fixed it. I felt great. I gave them a 5-star review, and they're no strangers to 5-star reviews. In fact, they have over 400 5-star reviews to their resume. They do residential and commercial. So if you're in need of a new roof, or if you need your current roof looked at, you get a free roof inspection. GreenTechRoofing.com. Get there. It's GreenTechRoofing.com. Tell them yours truly, TKras, Tom Krasnick.
Nissan on WDAE.
I mean, we've had a conversation. When we're very close, we have these type of conversations, what to expect from an interview and everything else. At least you know you're picking the right guy, and we'll see what happens going forward from there. But, you know, if they're not talking about you guys for interviews, then you're probably not doing it right.
Todd Bowles remarking on his offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, who is a head coaching candidate. Jacksonville wants to speak to him. Nobody else, to our recollection, has requested permission, but that can change because there is now another head coaching opening in the NFL. As we welcome you back, 6:34 on your ride home on this Monday edition of The Drive with yours truly, TKras. Chris Mathis on the other side. You can join in on the fun. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945. So the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are parting ways. So Mike McCarthy, who was on an expiring contract, is going to be open for business. A word is, look, the Bears were interested in Mike McCarthy. If you remember last week, I think it was last week, they requested an interview and the Cowboys denied their request. Now, if you knew Mike McCarthy was leaving, why would you deny that request? It's just, I just don't know how the Cowboys are operating right now. I don't think they know how they're operating right now.
And Tom, just like with Cooper Rush, almost getting that incentive, the last game of the regular season, but did not, right? Because they benched him, put Trey Lance in there. It feels like the Cowboys are just all over the place, man.
That's Jerry Jones for you.
I despise him.
You screwed Cooper Rush out of $250,000. And I'm telling you, that resonates in the locker room. Guys will talk about that. Guys will keep receipts on what management is doing and how they treat other players when it comes to their incentives and their contracts and whatnot. That's why what Mike Evans did in getting that 1,000 yards and how the Buccaneers went out of their way to try and get that for him, even though they knew it was going to cost them $3 million. Because that's the incentive that he hit for getting 1,000 yards. But because Mike is the kind of person he is, has been the kind of player that he is for almost 12 years now in the Tampa Bay area, you know, the Buccaneers were going to afford him that opportunity. They were going to make that happen. And players take note of that. And that goes a long way in the locker room. So I don't know what the Cowboys are doing. I don't think Jerry Jones knows what he's doing as well. I'm watching highlights or lowlights from last night's loss of the Commanders. That field goal, man. We're going to be watching that stupid thing for the next 6 months, leading up to OTAs, minicamp, training camp.
You know, from the press box, I didn't even know it doinked off the crossbar, man.
Oh, man.
And in fact, there were some media members, I don't know of who, but they thought it was missed. No, no good, no. In the press box. And I'm like, what? I thought it went right down the middle.
No.
And then saw the highlight afterwards and saw that it had doinked.
So I was in here with Derek DeBose, and we're getting ready for the overtime show because we knew that was the last play of the game. Maybe it goes into overtime. So I said to him, I go, is there a chance he misses this? And then Derek DeBoe's like, 10% chance or something, he said. I go, he might miss this. Washington has used 5 kickers. I go, there's a chance he misses this. And then when he made into the kick, he laid into it, he kicked it up, end over end, it started sailing, and then sailing, and then sailing, and I got so excited because I thought he was going to miss it wide right, or boing, he boings off the upright, and then, unfortunately,
Okay, I'm going to say this.
I'm going to say this one time. I can't believe that thing actually went in. So, just a fortuitous bounce for the Washington Commandos. Not so much for the Buccaneers as their season came to an end last night. Now everyone's talking about the aftermath. Liam Cohen, is he going to get another job? In my opinion, I think he's staying. I think he's going to interview for Jacksonville. Nobody else has requested an interview to our knowledge of Liam Cohen. The Bears, Saints, Jets, Cowboys have become open. I think Jerry Jones wants a name coach. John Gruden's name came up during the Colin Cowherd show. Can you imagine? John Gruden in Dallas. That would be something else. John's name has been mentioned in passing with the Saints. So there's going to be a lot of movement over the next couple of weeks. Now, Jerry Jones cannot talk to the Lions coordinators. He missed that opportunity. Last week was the week to interview Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson virtually, and he missed his chance, which means now he's got to wait until after the Lions are eliminated. And I don't think that's happening this week. I don't think the Commandos are beating them. No, sir. I think the Lions are well rested. David Montgomery has a chance to come back. They already got back Alex Anzalone. I think the Lions wiped the floor with the Commandos this weekend. The game of the weekend in the divisional playoff round is Sunday night, 6:30. Ravens and Bills. Lamar Jackson against Josh Allen. Sign me up for that. All day, every day. Now, the winner of tonight's game, Vikings playing the Rams tonight. They'll take on the Eagles in Philadelphia. The Eagles were not very impressive. I don't think Jalen Hurts was all that great. A.J. Brown, we know what he was doing. He was reading a book along the side, on the sidelines. Just a terrible look for him as a professional, and a terrible look into the culture that has been created and cultivated by Nick Sirianni. Where else are you going to find a guy reading a book on the sidelines? I have never seen that before. You're seeing players look at tablets and whatnot, but he actually had a book, a paperback book on the sidelines, the inner workings or whatever. My goodness. There is news today, speaking of the Bucs. I think Liam is going to stay. Just my gut feeling is I think he stays. And I think it would behoove him to stay because Todd Bowles has to put up or shut up next year. He's got to make a deep run of the postseason. I think he's got to get to a conference championship game. And I think if he doesn't, I think his job will absolutely be on the line. So if I'm Liam Cohen, I'm sticking here. I'm staying put because Todd Bowles doesn't have a very long shelf life if he doesn't live up to expectations next year. And then Liam Cohen can slide right in if that's the plan. John Spytek, the Buccaneer assistant GM, by the way, there's news there. He's getting a second interview with the Tennessee Titans for their open general manager position. So the Titans must have liked what they heard, and they're bringing him back for a second interview. They're also bringing back, yes, Jason Light. They're also bringing back a number of other candidates for a second interview. So he's not the only one. There's about 5 or 6 others that Tennessee is going to talk to. So we'll keep an eye on that. Mike Greenberg interviewed with the Jets last week for their general manager opening. So the 2 assistant GMs of the Buccaneers could, I emphasize could, leave this offseason. 888-546-4620. Text at 82945 on the Bartow Ford DA text platform. Oh, what is Rusty talking about there? I need a 5-second loop of TKras' impersonation of, the boing, boing.
Do that again, Tom. He really wants that for his what is it?
The ringtone?
Ringtone, yeah.
All right, Rusty, this one's for you. Boing.
How about that? Live on the radio, we just created a ringtone for Rusty.
There you go, Rusty. There you have it. There's your ringtone. There's a show. That's a show right there. Oh, my goodness. So I don't know who's taking the Cowboys job, but the fact that John Gruden's name has been mentioned in passing, I think is very, very interesting to me. Mike McCarthy Could he go for the Bears job? The Bears requested to talk to him, and the Cowboys rejected that request last week, and now he's free. So it looks like the Bears are serious about him. We'll find out if he ends up in Chicago. He could end up in New Orleans. He was there once upon a time many moons ago. Look, Mike McCarthy is not a terrible coach. I mean, he's a good offensive coach. He's been really good with quarterbacks. He's worked with a lot of quarterbacks, a lot of good ones, and he's helped them out along the way. I think you could do a lot worse than him. Can you do better? Probably. But if you're a team looking for, I don't know, stability, you want a proven guy. Maybe the Bears are thinking that way. Maybe the Bears are thinking, well, we've been chasing Ben Johnson. We're not sure if he's going to be a really good head coach. Mike McCarthy, we know, has had varying degrees of success as a head coach. And, oh, by the way, he does a really good job with quarterbacks as well. Let's talk to him first. Maybe he's our preference. And maybe the Cowboys are thinking the same. Maybe they're thinking, we want a proven guy, a guy who's been there and done that, to handle everything that being a Cowboys head coach has to come with it. Meaning, I don't think you want a novice being a head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. It's a huge job, high visibility, brand management, and all that. Being a Cowboys coach is probably more distinction, carries more distinguished honor than being the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach. I can tell you that. So maybe Jerry Jones has his eye on somebody else. Jerry Jones is not going to move off of Mike McCarthy, and because we were led to believe that they were negotiating a contract and that there would come to some sort of agreement. That's why he rejected the Bears' request. So there's something interesting happening in Dallas. I think a big name is being bandied about. Could it be John Gruden? Could it be Bill Belichick? I saw a story on ProFootballTalk.com. Our guy Mike Florio had a story where Belichick has been kind of slow in putting together his coaching staff up at North Carolina. Could that be because maybe there's an NFL team knocking on his door? It's going to get interesting over the next week or so. All right, when we come back, we'll step aside. One final segment, one final drive before we get out of here at 7 o'clock, and that is next here on The Drive.
You're tuned in to The Drive with TKras.
Guys, January is here, and you can kick off 2025 by impressing her, your better half, with a timeless diamond from my friend Steve and Julie Weintraub over at the Golden Diamond Source. And if you're ready to pop the big question, you can find the perfect engagement ring at the Golden Diamond Source. Chris Mathis did just that. He went to the Golden Diamond Source. He got his engagement ring there. He popped the big question over the holidays to Lily. And once she saw that ring from the Golden Diamond Source, she just went gaga. She's like, okay, I'll do it. My answer is yes. Sorry, I know that's a bad impersonation, but you get the picture. That's where Chris Mathis got his engagement ring. That's where you need to be over at the Golden Diamond Source. You can make her January birthday or her 2nd and 6th wedding anniversaries unforgettable with up to 15% off Garnet. That is the January birthstone. And while you're there, guys and gals, discover Emilique by Emily Johnson Weintraub. It's a sleek and modern jewelry line that makes everyday gifts extraordinary. And you can turn old and unused gold into cold, hard cash or a stunning new piece. With gold prices soaring, there's no better time to trade up than right now at the Golden Diamond Source. So check them out, 3800 Omerton Road in Clearwater. They are
/print for details. Ends 2/1. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
The final drive.
I know everyone's lamenting the loss to the Commanders and a certainly busy offseason coming up for the Buccaneers. There will be change. One change that won't happen is at head coach, where Todd Bowles is safe for now. But as I mentioned earlier in the show, a couple things have to happen. One, he's got to hire a consultant, somebody that can help him out in terms of clock management, somebody that needs to be with him on the sideline. That is absolutely imperative. Two, this team will be improved next year. I have full confidence in Jason Light to go out and make the necessary moves. So next year, that bar is going to be raised now. Todd Bowles needs to make a deep postseason run or else.
The final drive.
I want to thank Trevor Sikkema. He was awesome. Great job, Chris Mathis. Tomorrow, Greg Allman joins us, fill in the blank as well.